deceived into marriage by the goddess. What time is it, and you're still sleeping? Don't you know what time it is? In the male dormitory of Deep City University, 6 members of the student council's dorm inspection team, all dressed in black uniforms, barged in early in the morning. Each of them was burly with sharp, intimidating eyes. The leader, standing with his hands behind his back, glanced around the dorm and nodded slightly. The cleanliness is acceptable. Who is he? The student council president's sharp gaze landed on the bed near the balcony where a boy was fast asleep. Before he could speak, one of his subordinates arrogantly shouted, "Still sleeping during a dorm inspection? You're pretty bold." In a daze, Lishan, who was deep in sleep, felt himself being pushed a couple of times. Frowning, he slowly opened his eyes and, still groggy, sat up from the bed, holding his throbbing head. Still not fully sober from the hangover, Lishan was filled with irritability and had no idea what was going on around him. Looking at the unfamiliar student council members who were ranting and scolding him, he glanced at them indifferently and said, "Who are you?" The words left Lishan's mouth, and everyone in the room was stunned. Especially the 6 student council members. They had been bullying students in this dorm for years, but it was the first time someone dared to speak to them like that. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as the president, with a dark expression, punched the table next to him, seemingly using this gesture to express his dissatisfaction. "Kid, you know we're here for a dorm inspection and yet you haven't even bothered to clean up. Do you not know that the trash can should be empty?" The others looked toward the trash can, which was completely empty. Nothing was inside. But just as they looked, a black bag elegantly landed in the trash can. Everyone turned to look. It was Lishan's bag, the one he had left on the table earlier. Without hesitation, the president picked up Lishan's bag from the trash can and headed for the door, followed closely by his subordinates. Before leaving, one of the lackeys turned around and shouted into the dorm, "Tell this kid, after he sobers up, he'd better write an apology letter and come to us personally, or he can forget about getting his bag back." Only after the 6 menacing student council members left did the boys in the room, who had been tense the whole time, breathe a sigh of relief. They slumped back onto their beds, muttering curses toward the door. What the hell? It's just the student council, what's so great about them? They didn't leave even after staying for half an hour. Alright, daze, don't even talk. It's your fault. I told you someone was coming, but you wouldn't listen and still left your laptop out. Are you crazy? It's Goddess Hanhan's concert. I'm watching it even if I die today. Saying that, the chubby daze took out his laptop and continued playing the concert. As the heavenly voice of the singer filled the room, the other boys, who pretended to be indifferent, gathered around Daze's laptop and stared at the screen. Specifically, they were fixated on the lead singer of the concert, Ding Hanhan. Ding Hanhan was a rising star in the entertainment industry over the past couple of years. She had barely debuted but had already become a household name, widely known across the country, excelling both in the entertainment and music industries. She had captured the hearts of countless male fans with her cold, beautiful, and charming looks. At this moment, daze and the others were slack-jawed, drooling as they watched the superstar on the screen. Meanwhile, Lishan, sitting on the edge of his bed, rubbed his aching head, trying to recall what he had done the previous night that had left him so drunk. At first, his mind was blank, and he couldn't remember anything that had happened. But as he overheard the name Ding Hanhan, a faint sense of familiarity stirred within him. Lishan gritted his teeth, trying to piece together his fragmented memories. In an instant, flashes of memories came rushing back like a tidal wave. He remembered that Ding Hanhan, his childhood friend, had called him the night before, saying she was going through a tough time in her career and felt upset. She asked him to go out for dinner to cheer her up. Under normal circumstances, Lishan would have refused. But this time, Ding Hanhan seemed to have gotten herself into some serious trouble, and as her childhood friend, he felt somewhat guilty for not helping. Once they arrived at the place, Ding Hanhan seemed to drink away her sorrows. After the first round, she kept toasting Lishan, and they didn't even eat any food before downing half a bottle of alcohol. Before long, Lishan felt the world spinning, and his body uncontrollably collapsed onto the table. After a blackout, Lishan vaguely remembered that Ding Hanhan had dragged him somewhere, and he seemed to have chatted with someone. "Hey! You're that famous celebrity from TV, right? I'm so lucky to meet you. You guys are fine, but can you help us register first?" "I'm sorry, I'm just a regular actress, but if you could help us register, that would be great." Wait, what's going on? What's going on? Lishan was jolted awake as this part of his memory flooded back, his face turning pale with shock. His body shot up from the bed as if a switch had flipped, and he felt much more awake. Lishan's expression shifted with terror, muttering to himself. Wait. Did I get a marriage certificate with that evil woman last night? No way. It couldn't he be? Marrying that devil woman. Was he asking for death? No. I need to find out for sure. Without a second thought, Lishan pulled out his phone and rushed to the bathroom. Once in the bathroom, he took a deep breath, slapped his face, and tried to calm himself down. He then dialed Ding Hanhan's number with a serious expression. To the outside world, Ding Hanhan might be a flawless goddess, but to Lishan, she was an absolute death-bringer. Chapter 2, Should We Divorce or Not? The reason why Lishan's perception of Ding Hanhan was so different from others had to do with their childhood. The two had been childhood friends since their parents were close, which made them inseparable from a very young age. Ding Hanhan was 2 or 3 years older than Lishan, and he clearly remembered when he was still in a baby crib, Ding Hanhan out of curiosity mimicked the adults and threw him 2 meters high in the air. But she forgot to catch him. If it hadn't been for the crib underneath, his life might have ended right there. As Lishan grew older, things didn't get better. Once, this devil accidentally kicked him in a sensitive area. When she saw the agony on his face, it was as if she had discovered a new world. Whenever she felt like it, she would do something similar to him. Lishan distinctly remembered that one of Ding Hanhan's favorite things to say to him growing up was, "Cry. Cry as much as you can. If you don't cry loud enough today, I'll make sure you cry louder." It could be said that Lishan's entire childhood was spent under the shadow of this devil, leading to a deep-seated resentment and aversion toward her as he grew older. Now, realizing that he vaguely remembered getting married to Ding Hanhan last night, this was undoubtedly the most crushing blow to Lishan. With a few beeps, the phone call connected, and a cold, frosty voice came through. Who asked this? The familiar, cold voice made Lishan shudder involuntarily. This devil was truly a devil. Just speaking could put so much pressure on a person. He couldn't understand how her die-hard fans could possibly like her. Lishan cleared his throat twice, trying to keep calm as he asked, Ding Hanhan, do you remember what happened between us last night? When Ding Hanhan heard Lishan's voice, there was an obvious pause, and her tone softened considerably. Oh? You're talking about last night? What else could have happened? We both got drunk, and I took you back to the dorm, that's all. Why? Are you regretting something now, thinking something inappropriate happened between us when we were both drunk, a man and a woman alone? Lishan furrowed his brows. This woman was really good at teasing, and with just a few words, she blocked any chance for him to continue. However, from what she said, it seemed that the wedding might not have happened. Could it be that it was all just a dream? Confused, Lishan cautiously pressed on. Oh, is that so? Nothing else happened. I feel like something's off. Lishan's words left Ding Hanhan silent for 5 or 6 seconds. Then she sighed and said helplessly, I knew it. You can't keep a secret forever. As for that marriage certificate, yes, we both got drunk last night, and you, being a man, wanted something with me. I, however, stood my ground and told you that if you wanted to touch me, you'd have to marry me first. Then, with all the excitement, you dragged me to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the marriage certificate. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. After Ding Hanhan finished her story with a perfectly straight face, Lishan's expression turned as dark as thunder. This lie was something even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe. Seeing that Lishan hadn't responded, Ding Hanhan could tell just how furious he was by now. So, she added cautiously, Lishan, I'm telling you the truth. You believe me, right? What do you think? The moment Ding Hanhan finished speaking, Lishan couldn't hold back and roared into the phone, which startled Ding Hanhan so much that she pulled the phone away from her ear by about a meter. At that moment, Lishan was fuming with rage. This devil had clearly just confirmed that his memories weren't a dream, it was real. He had really married this death-bringing devil. Last night, she had asked him out under the pretense of being upset about her career, but it was clearly a trap. How could he have been so foolish to fall for it so easily? After Lishan's roar and the ensuing silence, Ding Hanhan brought the phone back to her ear, her tone regaining some of its icy edge. Lishan, yes, you're right, I secretly took you to get the marriage certificate. So, what do you want to do about it? What, are you planning on eating me or something? Hearing the coldness in her voice made Li Shan's heart skip a beat. This woman was truly two-faced. Just a second ago, she had sounded like a helpless little kitten, but now she was back to being a ferocious tiger. If he wanted to live a few more years, he absolutely couldn't have anything to do with this woman. At this point, Li Shan couldn't care less about his deep aversion and fear. He resolutely said, "I'm not going to eat you. But I want a divorce. It's a must. We have to divorce. Right now, immediately." To his surprise, as soon as Li Shan said, "divorce," he heard a dismissive cold laugh on the other end of the phone, as though his reaction was exactly what she had expected. The cold laugh made Li Shan's heart freeze, and his scalp prickled. Li Shan asked in confusion, "Ding Han, what do you want to do? I'm telling you, this is marriage fraud. If you don't divorce me, I'll sue you." At this, Ding Han pretended to be helpless and said, "Li Shan, I know, I understand. Men always need some time to adjust after suddenly getting married. But what can I do? I had to do it because I care about you. Since you don't want to marry me, I'll just go along with your wishes." Li Shan furrowed his brow, carefully considering her words. There was something fishy about what she was saying. So, cautiously, Li Shan asked, "Then what are we waiting for? Let us go to the Civil Affairs Bureau at noon and finalize the divorce." After a few seconds of silence on the other end of the phone, Ding Han suddenly laughed. "Li Shan, it's not that I don't want to divorce you, but we can't divorce right now." "Why can't we? Plenty of people get married one day and divorce the next. Why can't we?" Hearing Li Shan's growing impatience, Ding Han let out a melodic laugh on the other end. "You're right, it's true that people can get divorced so quickly, but they still have to be present in person. It's unfortunate, but my agent told me I have to go to another city for a concert. Last night, they took me all the way to the capital. Now, we're so far apart. If we want to get divorced, the staff won't be happy. Do you want me to make them come all the way here to confirm something for you?" After she said this, Ding Han continued laughing uncontrollably, leaving Li Shan frozen in shock. Chapter 3, This is definitely pre-planned and calculated. Drinking and getting the marriage certificate, then running away overnight. Such a meticulously planned and premeditated action could never be a coincidence. This is a conspiracy. This is absolutely a conspiracy. Li Shan was so furious that he felt like his lungs were about to explode. This woman, in order to tie him down, not only tricked him into marriage but also devised a detailed and well thought out plan. How did his luck get so bad that he ended up with such a woman? While Li Shan silently cursed his fate, a mechanical female voice suddenly echoed in his ears. "Congratulations, host, you have obtained the soft rice, hard eating system. This system has not yet been activated. Please complete the activation task promptly." "What? A system?" Li Shan widened his eyes and looked around. It was obvious that the mechanical female voice had come from all directions, not from Ding Han's side. And there was no one around him. How could this mysterious voice suddenly appear? Moreover, based on the laughter from Ding Han on the phone, it seemed she hadn't heard the voice at all. Could it be that he was just imagining things? Activation task, now open. Task requirement, agree to Ding Han's request and postpone the divorce plan. Note, once this system is activated, it will provide corresponding rewards based on the host's timely completion of the tasks, such as shares, property rights, attribute enhancement points. As the mechanical voice spoke again, a faint blue, translucent system panel appeared in front of Li Shan. Only then did he realize that this wasn't a hallucination. Li Shan, who had been addicted to novels since childhood, knew exactly what a system was. But he had only ever seen it in novels before, and now it had really appeared in his life, leaving him somewhat bewildered. Typically, when the male protagonist in novels receives the system's help, he would immediately gain incredible power, recruit a harem, and rise to the peak of life. Now that Li Shan had a system, didn't this mean he was about to take off like the protagonists in those novels? However, the condition for activating the system was to delay his divorce plan, which made Li Shan feel somewhat conflicted. Although Li Shan had long been eager to divorce Ding Han and never see her again, he was also curious to see if he could rise to success with the system's help. Moreover, even if he wanted to divorce Ding Han, he couldn't catch up with her since she was far away. After thinking it over, Li Shan decided that it wouldn't be a big deal to postpone the divorce for a while. The system didn't say he couldn't divorce her once she returned to the city, they could go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and settle it. Then everything would be solved. With this in mind, Li Shan coughed lightly, deliberately putting on a cold face as he said to Ding Hanhan on the phone, "All right, looks like you've run quite far. In that case, I guess even if I want to divorce now, it's impossible, right?" Ding Hanhan was startled when she heard Li Shan suddenly back down. Based on her understanding of Li Shan since childhood, she knew that once Li Shan realized he had been played, he would definitely explode in rage and shout at her. But this time, Li Shan had calmly accepted the situation, which caught her off guard. So, Ding Hanhan quickly nodded and said, yes, it's all part of the work arrangement, nothing I can do. Besides, why are you in such a hurry to divorce me? Don't you know, there are many people who want to marry me? I could circle the earth 3 times and still have suitors. Ding Hanhan was telling the truth. Every male fan of hers would dream of marrying her, and even many female fans felt the same way. Unfortunately, Li Shan felt no excitement at all. Instead, he said in an annoyed tone, "Hey. I only said I can't divorce now, but I didn't say I want to divorce. When are you coming back to the city? As soon as you get back, we'll go straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get this divorce." "Or? You still want a divorce? Fine, I won't be back until next week at the earliest. Let us talk about it then. I have some things to do here, so I'm hanging up now." Before Li Shan could say anything more, Ding Hanhan quickly ended the call. Once the call ended, the cold expression on Ding Hanhan's face immediately vanished, replaced by an unmistakable expression of excitement and joy. She threw the phone aside and eagerly bounced around on the bed, as if she couldn't contain her happiness. "Oh yeah. My plan succeeded." Just as Ding Hanhan had expected, Li Shan would eventually discover the marriage certificate and call her to question it. The reason Ding Hanhan came to the capital for a concert wasn't because of work, it was something she and her agent had arranged. The purpose was to avoid Li Shan so that he couldn't divorce her. Ding Hanhan believed that at this critical moment, Li Shan would act impulsively out of anger. But as long as she wasn't in the city, he wouldn't be able to divorce her. Once Li Shan's anger subsided, she could return and talk to him properly. Perhaps, they might even stay married. What surprised Ding Hanhan was that with just a few words, she had managed to persuade Li Shan to temporarily give up his divorce plan. Given this situation, making this fake marriage real wouldn't be that difficult. In the midst of her excitement, Ding Hanhan suddenly felt a tightness in her chest. Realizing something was wrong, she quickly grabbed a tissue from the table and covered her mouth. After a violent coughing fit, the white tissue was stained with a large patch of red blood. Staring at the tissue in her hand, now tainted with blood, Ding Hanhan's expression grew serious. She stared at it for a long time, finally sighing deeply and tossing the tissue into the nearby trash bin. Then, she sat back down on the bed, lowered her head, and fell into deep thought. Chapter 4: Ability to Predict Danger. Just 2 weeks ago, Ding Hanhan's personal doctor detected something unusual in Ding Hanhan. After various examinations, Ding Hanhan's personal doctor finally told Ding Hanhan the bad news. That is, she had a very rare and terminal disease. This terminal illness is not acquired but starts from birth because the overlap of parents' genes will cause some kind of mutation, allowing the mutated genes to remain in the baby's body permanently. As we age, the gene changes from recessive to dominant. When the gene is recessive, it will not show any abnormality, and will only become dominant when it mutates. This is also the reason why Ding Hanhan never knew that he was suffering from a terminal illness since he was a child. The probability of this terminal illness occurring is less than 1 in a million, and it is even rarer in the entire medical community, and there is simply no solution. Moreover, according to the doctor's calculations, based on Ding Hanhan's current condition, Ding Hanhan can only hold on for another 3 or 4 months at most. When he got the news, the first thought that came to Ding Hanhan's mind was not that he was about to die, but that he was about to be far away from Li Shan. Although in Li Shan's eyes, Ding Hanhan has always been a fierce and vicious female devil to him since he was a child. But Ding Hanhan himself knew very well that he had liked this boy since he was a child. Since childhood, Ding Hanhan has been waiting for Li Shan to take the initiative to confess his love to her, and the two of them to live romantically together until old age. It's a pity that Li Shan is like a piece of wood. He has never reacted at all when there is such a delicate beauty by his side. However, Li Shan had never had any ambiguous relationship with girls from other schools, which made Ding Hanhan think that Li Shan just felt that the girls around him were not good enough. As long as you are good enough, you will definitely attract Li Shan's attention. So Ding Hanhan kept improving himself, and even entered the entertainment industry right after graduation, becoming a popular star. But despite this, Li Shan's attitude towards himself remains consistent. Not to mention being in love with her, on weekdays, he would never appear in front of her if he could avoid her, which made Ding Hanhan very disappointed for a while. Originally, Ding Hanhan wanted to continue waiting and use time to temper their relationship, but now that he knows he has a terminal illness, Ding Hanhan knows that he no longer has time to wait. In order to avoid leaving this world with regret and remorse, Ding Hanhan had no choice but to resort to this last resort. That is why the marriage certificate came into being. Although she still could not avoid the fate of leaving this world, Ding Hanhan wanted to leave as Li Shan's wife at the last moment of her life. Soon Ding Hanhan raised her head, the sadness in her eyes was replaced by fighting spirit, and she secretly encouraged herself in her heart. Come on, Ding Hanhan. No matter what, you must win over Li Shan. After hanging up the phone, Li Shan turned his gaze to the translucent system panel again, and so that the text on the system panel began to change. The system is turned on. Congratulations to the host for receiving the opening reward. Please confirm receipt. Receive, place in warehouse. Li Shan was delighted to see the rewards. The system's award-winning system was exactly the same as what was written in the novel. It seems that as long as I rely on the system, I will reach the peak of my life in no time. Li Shan clicked the receive button without thinking. Reward obtained successfully. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Danger Prediction Ability Level 1. Ability Introduction. This system ability will generate early warning functions based on changes in the host's surroundings, protecting the host from danger. As the ability level increases, the predictable range will gradually expand. When it reaches the maximum level, it can temporarily predict changes in something nearby in the future. Note, all abilities granted by this system can be upgraded based on the frequency of use without consuming mission points. Li Shan stared at his system panel in amazement, feeling overjoyed. Wow, I didn't expect that just turning on the system would give me such a great gift. And when you reach the maximum level, you can even have the ability to predict the future. Isn't this too amazing? At this moment, Li Shan suddenly felt as if something was wrong and subconsciously turned to the side. The door in front of Li Shan was suddenly slammed open. If Li Shan had not moved to the side in time, he would have been smashed and hit hard. Li Shan cried out in his heart, "It's a close call." Fortunately, he had the ability to predict danger, otherwise he would be in great trouble. At this time, Li Shan looked at the system panel on the side, and saw that the original Danger Prediction Ability LV1 had changed to Danger Prediction Ability LV2. Li Shan suddenly understood. This is what the system meant by upgrading the level based on the frequency of use. If I continue like this, I might as well go directly to the most dangerous place in the construction site. After avoiding danger a few times, won't I be able to reach the maximum level directly? But after thinking about it, Li Shan gave up the idea. If there is a mistake in this ability to predict danger, it will be a mistake, but you may lose your life. As the door was pushed open, Darshi, Shunzi and Lao Li, who were eavesdropping behind the door, lost their balance and fell to the ground with a thump. Ouch! Darshi, get off me quickly, you fat old fellow almost crushed me to death. Stop talking nonsense. Shunzi is still on top of me. Let him get off first. What do you have to say, Lao Li? If you hadn't touched the door lock just now, would the door have opened? Just as the three were arguing, suddenly a cold breath blew in their faces. The three people's expressions tensed and they turned their heads, only to see Li Shan with a gloomy face and a cold tone. Chapter 5, It's a Marriage Certificate. What are you three doing here? Are you trying to murder your father? Seeing Li Shan's cold expression, the three people were shocked, and Lao Li said with a guilty conscience. Li Shan, we definitely didn't eavesdrop on your phone call here. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Eavesdropping on my phone calls. Li Shan frowned and his eyes became even colder. Seeing this, Daze quickly covered Lao Li's mouth and explained stutteringly. Li Shan, it's not what you think. We just accidentally heard you say something about Ding Hanhan's certificate. When Li Shan heard Dash's words, his eyes widened and he exclaimed. What? You all heard about Ding Hanhan and I getting married. Li Shan was frightened when he heard the other party talking about marriage. I originally thought that the marriage was over, and I would cover up the matter first, and wait for Ding Hanhan to come back to divorce quickly, and then pretend that this matter had never happened. But now my roommates have overheard it all. If they accidentally spread the news, it will be a big trouble. Looking at Darshi, Shunzi and Lao Li, the expressions on their faces were as if they had seen a ghost, and they shouted almost in unison. Lishan, what did you say? You and Ding Han are married. Well. Lishan was confused by the reactions of these three people. Didn't they know about this? Why was this their reaction? It turned out that these three people had no idea that Ding Han and Lishan had obtained their marriage certificate. Just now they heard Lishan shouting Ding Han's name in the bathroom, and they were attracted by Lishan's abnormal behavior. After all, Lishan is known to everyone as Ding Han's #1 black fan. Whenever he and others listen to her concerts or her TV series in the dormitory, Lishan will always say something mercilessly. You guys watch this kind of rubbish? At this moment, Lishan was secretly shouting Ding Han's name in the bathroom, which naturally attracted the attention of the three people. The three of them came to the door and secretly listened to what Lishan was saying, and happened to hear something about the certificate. However, none of the three people heard clearly what the certificate was. But at this moment, Lishan actually confessed the matter without being asked, and the three of them were almost scared to death. Soon, Shun was the first to react and laughed. Lishan, you are just pretending to be nice to us, and you want to turn the tables. Can I trust you? After hearing what Shunzi said, Darshi and Lao Li also realized what was going on and nodded quickly. Yes, Lishan, it's great. We were almost fooled by you. You are such a high-level black. That's right. I really don't understand how there can be people in this world who don't like Goddess and Han. Lishan, if you do this again next time, don't blame me for turning my back on you. From the three people's similar reactions, Lishan realized that he had let the cat out of the bag and they didn't know about it at all. However, after hearing what the three said, Lishan quickly took over the conversation and continued speaking. Yes, I was just kidding, har, I didn't expect that I still couldn't fool you. Oh, by the way, where is the bag on my desk? When Lishan made the call just now, he remembered that Ding Han said that his marriage certificate seemed to be in the bag he carried yesterday. I have to hide the marriage certificate quickly, it will be bad if someone sees it. Hearing Lishan asking about the bag, she said with a wry smile. Lishan, have you forgotten? Just now when the student union came to check your dormitory, your bag was snatched away by the student union president. He told you to write an apology letter before getting your bag back. Hey, Lishan, where are you going? Wait a minute. The apology letter hasn't been written yet. Before Daxixi could finish his words, Lishan did not dare to delay for a moment and hurriedly ran past the three people and towards the door. Lishan knew that the 6 members of the student union were not good people. There had been rumors before that the members of the student union took other people's bags and luggage, rummaged around, and secretly pocketed the valuables inside. Lishan was not worried that he would take the wallet in his bag for himself, but he was afraid that the other party would find the marriage certificate. If they see the marriage certificate and make a big deal out of this, then this matter won't be suppressed. I must get the bag back before they find the marriage certificate. At the same time, in the student union office, the student council president sat steadily on the chair with his big belly. The lackeys at the side quickly took out these valuable things and brought them to the student council president with both hands. President, look, this kid actually has some money. There are several thousand in his wallet. The student council president crossed his legs, narrowed his eyes, glanced at the money in the lackey's hand, then snatched it away and stuffed it into his pocket. Then he patted the armrest of the chair and spoke earnestly. Look at Xiao Wang. This is how a good team member behaves. Can't you tell what is valuable and what is not? What kind of rubbish were those things Xiao Zhao brought me last time? How dare you bring me a few broken pens? Don't give me anything that is not valuable in the future, understand? Several peasants stood side by side in front of the student union president, nodded heavily and shouted. Yes. At this moment, Xiao Zhao next to him suddenly exclaimed when he looked at something in his backpack. Oh my god, boss. You come here and take a look. This is. Hearing Xiao Zhao's sudden stammering and panic, the student union president at the side frowned and slammed the table. Xiao Zhao, I just criticized you, don't you feel embarrassed? Are you acting weird again? What's so weird about it? After being yelled at by the student union president, Xiao Zhao's face turned pale and beads of sweat the size of beans kept oozing out of his forehead. But what he just found in Li Shan's bag was too shocking. For a moment, Xiao Zhao stuttered and couldn't say a word. In a hurry, Xiao Zhao had to take Li Shan's bag to the student union president and let the student union president come to check it himself. Looking at Xiao Zhao's appearance, the student union president was also confused. Logically speaking, although Xiao Zhao is not as good as others in doing things, he is not the kind of person who is more likely to cause trouble than to accomplish anything. Why does he seem so impulsive now? With doubts, the student union president opened the bag and saw a red certificate at the bottom of the bag. The 3 big golden words, marriage certificate, on it looked so dazzling. Chapter 6, I'll get something. The student council president frowned, slightly surprised. Although college students can get married, there are very few who actually get married. It is quite novel to come across a marriage certificate now. Although the student council president is domineering on weekdays, he is extremely ugly and has few female friends around him. Not to mention getting married, I can't even find a partner. Seeing that there was a marriage certificate at the bottom of Li Shan's bag, she was naturally jealous, so she waved her hand and took out the marriage certificate from the bottom of the bag. Good boy, you are playing wildly. I want to see what kind of ugly girl you married. Fuck, what's going on? Looking at the bright red marriage certificate in his hand, the student union president's expression was even more shocked than Xiao Zhao's just now. That big mouth can easily fit 3 or 5 eggs. Several student union members standing by were also puzzled when they saw the president's expression. Isn't it just a marriage certificate? Why is it like you saw a ghost? With doubts, everyone went forward to take a look. Until everyone saw the photo of Li Shan and Ding Hanhan in the marriage certificate, it was like a bolt from the blue that struck them all, shocking them so much that they were burnt on the outside but tender on the inside. Oh my goodness! What's going on? How could Ding Hanhan, the popular national goddess, marry a college student from her own school? Who would dare to believe such a fantastic thing? Time seemed to freeze at that moment, and it took several seconds for the student council president to react first. His eyes rolled around, as if he suddenly realized something. He then closed the marriage certificate, looked around, and suddenly laughed. Har har har, look at the way you look, do you believe this is a real marriage certificate? After being reminded by the student council president, everyone suddenly understood. Yes, I have never been married, so how do I know whether this is a real marriage certificate or a fake one? Maybe this is a fake certificate that Li Shan forged because he was too obsessed with chasing stars. This kind of thing is like an old 2D guy hugging a paper man and calling him his wife. It's the same in nature and it's extremely ridiculous. When everyone heard this, they burst into laughter. Oh, I was saying that. This marriage certificate is fake at first glance. Who can believe in something like this? Har har har, that's right, only a fool would believe that. I never thought that some people would be so obsessed with idols nowadays. At this moment, the student council president took out his cell phone and took a photo of the contents of the marriage certificate. Li Shan's name and face were all blurred, and then posted on the forum. Oh my, there aren't many good men like him these days. Should we help him and make him famous? When they heard that the president had posted this matter online, everyone rushed to flatter him. Yes, 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 the president is still wise. We must let everyone see how happy a fool like this is. Boss, please post it quickly. I'll forward it to other platforms. This kind of big news will definitely cause quite a stir. Okay, if anyone guesses who this guy is, he will probably be eaten alive by Ding Hanhan's fans. Just as everyone was laughing, there were suddenly rapid knocks on the door. Xiao Zhao came to the door and asked, "Who is this? Don't you know that our student union doesn't accept outsiders at this time?" Li Shan, I'm here to get the things. Chapter 7, I'm gonna beat you up today. Li Shan, I'm here to get the things. Oh, Li Shan. When everyone heard that the person coming outside the door was Li Shan, the smirk that had just disappeared from their faces reappeared. I just said I would post this idiot story on the internet, and this idiot came looking for me. Isn't this God's will? Xiao Wang turned around and winked at the student union president, indicating whether he should find an excuse to kick Li Shan out. But after the student council president finished editing and publishing the post on his mobile phone, he looked up and shook his head, saying with a sinister look on his face, "No, let that idiot in. Didn't I tell you before that if you want your bag back you have to write me an apology letter and apologize in public? Now I guess that idiot should come to apologize." We have this good opportunity, shouldn't we take advantage of it to have some fun? When everyone heard this, it seemed to be true, so Xiaowang went to the door and opened it as if he had received a command from heaven. At this moment, Li Shan was standing outside the door with an expressionless face. When he saw the door was opened, his frown relaxed a little. He knocked on the door for a long time, but no one answered. If he hadn't heard the chirping laughter from inside, Li Shan would have thought that there was no one here. Just when Li Shan was about to go in, Xiaowang stretched out his hand to stop Li Shan. Hey, wait a minute. Who told you to go in? Stand still first. I'll ask you a few questions before you go in. Seeing a dog blocking the door, Li Shan got angry. This matter was extremely urgent. If the marriage certificate was really seen by them, he would be in big trouble. How could Li Shan have the time to answer questions with this roadblock? But Li Shan also knew that if he forced his way in, it would inevitably cause disputes. Not only would he not be able to find the marriage certificate quickly, but it would also hinder his future studies, which would not be worth it. So Li Shan suppressed his temper and said calmly, "You ask." Seeing that Li Shan was going to answer the question honestly, Xiaowang snorted coldly, his eyes full of contempt and disdain. 80% of students like Li Shan who dare to come to the student union office do so to apologize. Generally, when they come here, they have to keep their heads down and dare not even breathe. This is the first time someone like Li Shan has stood up with his head held high and an unhappy expression. But now it seems that Li Shan is just a paper tiger. He looks very tough, but he dare not act rashly and has to listen to what he says. This made Xiaowang sigh that the position of student union was really prestigious. Xiaowang puffed out his chest and raised his head, pointing at Li Shan with his chin and said, "You, what's your name?" Li Shan frowned, thinking, "Didn't I tell you my name clearly just now? Why are you pretending to be a bastard in front of me this time?" However, in order to avoid causing trouble, Li Shan had to suppress his anger. "Li Shan. Very good, then you know what you should prepare when you come to pick up your bag, right?" Xiao Wang's slow words undoubtedly pushed Li Shan's patience to the limit. At the moment, Li Shan was too lazy to prepare anything, so he just said, vaguely. When Xiao Wang saw Li Shan nod, he thought that Li Shan had prepared an apology letter, so he stepped aside and made way. Li Shan didn't say anything and went straight to the table in front of the student union president, intending to pick up his bag and leave quickly. Just when Li Shan's hand was about to touch the bag, a thick, hairy black hand hit the front of Li Shan's hand with a bang, almost hitting Li Shan. Li Shan pulled his hand back and looked at the hand on the table in confusion. As expected, the owner of this black hand was the student council president. At this moment, the student union president had a gloomy expression and a fierce look in his eyes. He stretched out his hand in front of Li Shan and said with a playful look on his face, "Boy, take out the things and read them to everyone first. Then we'll go to the radio station and read them again in front of all the teachers and students in the school. This matter will be settled today, and you can take the bag away naturally. Read it carefully." What? Li Shan had no idea what the student union president was talking about. Seeing that Li Shan had no reaction at all, the student union president immediately frowned and questioned him while slamming the table. "What? Are you really an idiot? I asked you to take out the apology letter, why are you still standing here? Take it out and read it." At this moment Li Shan suddenly realized that he seemed to have vaguely heard the 3 words, apology letter, when he was drunk. At that time, he thought he was dreaming. It seems that what they wanted was his apology letter. It's a pity that I came in a hurry and didn't prepare anything. But even if I wasn't in a hurry, I wouldn't intend to apologize to them. Apologizing to these 6 beasts would be tantamount to yielding to the evil forces. Li Shan can't do such a thing. When the other party asked him for an apology letter, Li Shan responded coldly, "Sorry, I didn't write an apology letter." What? Hearing this, the student union president's eyes looked so fierce that they seemed to be spitting fire. He cast his gaze at Xiao Wang who was standing beside him, as if blaming Xiao Wang, why did the other party let him in without an apology letter? Xiao Wang's heart trembled, and he quickly came to Li Shan and scolded him. You, didn't you just say you brought an apology letter?" Li Shan just glanced at Xiao Wang with the corner of his eyes and responded indifferently. "If I don't say that, can you honestly let me in? Presumptuous." The student union president slammed his fist on the table and stared at Li Shan with his eyes wide open, as if he was going to open his bloody mouth and eat Li Shan alive in the next second. "You little brat, don't you know where I am? How dare you act so presumptuously here? Are you tired of living? I'm telling you. You don't have an apology letter, right? Fine. Apologize to me right here on the spot. If you don't apologize to me today, I'll make sure you don't get into trouble. Hearing this, several other student union members around began to get ready and quietly approached Li Xin. This can no longer be considered a verbal threat. It is estimated that as long as Li Xin says no, the student union president will not let Li Xin off so easily. Even a clay figure can get angry a little, let alone Li Xin, a living person. Li Xin, who had her bag snatched away for no apparent reason, was already extremely upset. Now that she wanted to get her bag back, she was bullied. Naturally, Li Xin was furious. Facing the threat from the student union president, Li Xin spoke calmly. What if I want to take the bag but don't want to apologize? Then we won't be polite. The student union president winked at the other members, and the others immediately understood and rushed towards Li Xin. At this moment, the system sound in Li Xin's mind rang again. This time, the system simply assigned Li Xin a task. Primary mission: beat up everyone in the student union office. Chapter 8: Who is this pig head? Once, in the student union office of Shenzhen University, a great man said a very wise saying. Do you know why I've been against installing surveillance cameras in my office? It's to make sure those who don't apologize properly receive the punishment they deserve. This great man is none other than the president of the student union, Bai Yundao. And he has always followed his own governance motto, punishing every student who came to his office and did not apologize properly, without exception. In his eyes, Li Xin was one of the students who did not apologize properly, so Bai Yundao decided to punish Li Xin severely. Li Xin, who was surrounded by the other 5 people at this moment, did not show any panic. Instead, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up, with disdain on his face. When the system gave him the ability to predict danger, Li Xin had thought about it. Since this ability could avoid danger, it would surely come in handy in a fight. It's just that I haven't made any enemies in school, and no one bothers me on a daily basis. I really want to try this ability and improve my level, but finding a target is also a hassle. At this moment, there are 5 or 6 people coming to give me experience for no reason. What reason do I have to refuse them? At this moment, Li Xin raised his head and stared at Bai Yundao with disdain, as if saying to Bai Yundao, can you stop me with just these few people? When Bai Yundao saw that Li Xin was so presumptuous, he became even more furious. He slammed the table and yelled at Li Xin. Brothers, go ahead. Let this kid know what it means to be beaten by society. When several members heard the order from their leader, they jumped up and rushed towards Li Xin without saying a word. The 5 men punched and kicked Li Xin in different directions almost at the same time. According to my usual unsportsmanlike fighting style, no matter who it is, I will be knocked to the ground and beaten up. But today I encountered a bad omen. Li Xin looked tall and thin and frail, but he seemed to have eyes all over his body. Everyone came in front of Li Xin, and although they attacked at the same time, Li Xin turned his body to the side and avoided all the attacks perfectly. Everyone was shocked, but after only a moment's hesitation, they started fighting again with punches and kicks. But what was unbelievable to them was that the 5 of them had beaten him up one after another, at least hundreds of times, but they were surprised to find that they didn't touch Li Xin at all. On the contrary, Li Xin was able to take advantage of this opportunity to punch the student union members in the face a few times. At this moment, the student union president turned his back to Li Xin and others, picked up the tea behind him and took a sip. Bai Yundao felt very happy about the continuous screams behind him. Bai Yundao didn't care at all about the battle situation behind him. It was impossible for 5 people to lose against 1 person, right? So the louder the screams behind him, the happier Bai Yundao felt. Who dared you to contradict me in public? You didn't write an apology letter, and you dared to come to my place to get the bag. Aren't you courting death? At this time, the screams behind him gradually quieted down. Then Bai Yundao felt someone patting his shoulder. At first, Bai Yundao thought it was his younger brother who had taken care of Li Xin, and was about to turn around and praise him. When he turned around, he found that the person standing behind him was not his younger brother, but Li Xin, who should have been beaten black and blue. But at this moment, there was no sign of injury on Li Xin's face, and even his clothes were not dirty. What? Shocked, Bai Yundao looked behind him, and saw that his 5 younger brothers were lying on the ground like a pile of monks, with more of them going in than going out. Bai Yundao took a deep breath and his mind went blank with a buzzing sound. How is it possible? Who is this guy? How could he beat 5 people like this by himself? You have to know that these members are all from the sports department. When they really fight, they are very decisive. How could they let this kid beat them like this? Could it be that these people are playing me? Just when Bai Yundao was confused, Li Shan smiled, then raised his fist and hit Bai Yuntao's eye socket mercilessly. Oops! Before Bai Yundao could react, he was hit by the glare and fell down on the sofa with a cry. Before he could recover from the shock, he felt another barrage of punches on his face. Li Shan stood in front of Bai Yundao and beat him without mercy. Several other student union members are from the sports department and they exercise regularly, but the president is different. With his dark and fat figure, it's obvious that he spends his days doing nothing but eating and sleeping. Now that he was knocked to the ground by Li Shan, he had no chance to fight back. He could only scream and beg for mercy while being hit by the fists. Oh my, wait a minute, stop hitting me, stop hitting me. Stop hitting me, I was wrong, I know I was wrong, please forgive me, I promise you will take it away, I don't want it anymore. If it were someone else, they would have picked up their bag and left at this time, but Li Shan seemed to have intermittent deafness at this moment. He couldn't stop his hands at all and punched Bai Yundao in the face mercilessly. It seemed as if all the anger from the student union's oppression of students over the years was concentrated in these few punches. In fact, Li Shan is not a person who advocates violence, nor does he have to hold on to others' tails, but there is no other way. After all, the system has specially marked his task with the word, beat up violently. Li Shan is afraid that if he doesn't beat hard enough, the system will not reward him. So this meal must be continued until he is convinced. It was not until the beating got to the end and Bai Yundao was breathing in more than out, unable to even utter a single sound, that Li Shan stopped. Li Shan came to the table and picked up his bag, but found it was empty. He took another look and found that all the things in his bag had been shaken out. Li Shan was shocked. Could it be that his marriage certificate had already been seen? Li Shan quickly opened her bag and saw the marriage certificate lying steadily at the bottom of the bag. Li Shan then breathed a sigh of relief. He packed up his things, took out his money from Bai Yuntao's pocket, put on his bag, turned around and left, leaving behind a messy office. It took a while for these student union members to recover from their hobbies after Li Jin left. After they stood up, they heard the student council president wailing on the sofa. Everyone stood up with difficulty and looked towards the sofa. Some of them were so frightened that they almost lost their souls. Oh my goodness! Who is that pig head lying on the sofa? It took them a while to figure out that this was their boss Bai Yundao. Everyone quickly came to the boss and asked. Chapter 9 Things got out of hand. Boss, are you okay? Bai Yundao, lying on the sofa, took several deep breaths before he could barely recover from the pain. His already fat face was now swollen and blue from being beaten, and looked like a pig's head. At this moment, Bai Yundao had tears in his eyes, and he looked in the direction where Li Shan left and shouted viciously. He's a rebel. He's really a rebel. I've never suffered such an injustice in all these years. I will definitely not let him off. When everyone saw the twisted and ferocious expression on Pighead, no, their boss's face, they became even more panicked. If the situation wasn't inappropriate, they would definitely ask their boss if he was interested in considering developing the horror film industry. He doesn't even need makeup when he looks like this. At this time, Xiao Wang hurried to Bai Yundao and offered advice. Boss. You're right. We definitely can't let him off so easily. He hit us this time. Let's report it to the school. This kid will definitely suffer the consequences. After Xiao Wang said this, everyone nodded quickly. Fighting can be considered a vicious incident, and even though he was fighting one against many, it doesn't mean he is a hero. Moreover, they are members of the student union, and their relationships are definitely much stronger than those of ordinary students. Informing the school now is definitely the best option. Just when Xiao Wang was about to go out happily, Bai Yundao shouted angrily. Stop, who told you to report it? If this matter is reported to the higher-ups, won't their whole school know about it? Think about it, you useless guys. If outsiders knew that the 6 of us got beaten up, how would we survive in this school? How would we be able to keep our positions? After being yelled at by Bai Yundao, everyone lowered their heads. Then boss, are we just going to let that kid go? Let him go. I can let him off easily, but I won't be called Bai Yundao anymore. At this moment, a hint of ruthlessness suddenly revealed in Bai Yuntao's eyes, which were swollen into slits. He forced a sneer at the corner of his mouth and said in an extremely sinister manner. Since this kid wants to play with me, I'll let him know what happens if he offends me. Lishan walked towards the dormitory with her bag, swiping at the system panel that no one else could see. Congratulations to their host for receiving the primary reward. Please confirm receipt. Receive, place in warehouse. Lishan was extremely happy when he saw the system rewards. This time, with the help of the system, not only did we give the 6 evil guys a good beating, but we also got rewards. It was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Who would dare to believe such a good thing? Lishan clicked the receive button without thinking. Reward obtained successfully. Congratulations to their host for obtaining the God of Learning System Ability LV. Ability Introduction. Based on the host's thoughts, the God of Learning System ability can be turned on or off at any time. After the ability is turned on, the host will gain learning abilities and various knowledge that ordinary people can hardly imagine. Although the description of this system is very simple, after Lishan tested it, he found that this system is more powerful than he imagined. When reading various books, I can lock all the knowledge recorded in the books firmly in my mind with just one glance. He could even clearly tell which word, which page and which paragraph it was from. When calculating various formulas, the answer to the problem can be presented in the mind in just a blink of an eye, which is comparable to a humanoid computer. For a student like Lishan, this kind of academic genius ability is simply a heaven-defying existence. But that's all in the past. At this moment, Lishan was walking on the way back, but he felt that the atmosphere around him was obviously a little wrong. On weekdays, this school is quite cheerful, with people playing ball, running, and couples dating. But today was strange. On their way back, everyone was staring at their phones with their heads down as if possessed. Occasionally, 3 to 5 of them would discuss something together, but they were extremely careful, as if they were afraid of being overheard by others. Even in the basketball court, which is usually the busiest, several basketball fans are now sitting under the basket, looking down at their phones. Lishan frowned and looked at everyone, thinking to himself, when did cell phones become so addictive? I was drunk for one night, but when I woke up the next day, their whole world changed. But think about it, if even that female devil and I can get married, is there anything in this world that cannot change? Let us see if the sun rises from the west tomorrow morning. When I returned to the dormitory, as soon as I opened the door, I saw Shunzi, Lao Li and Dashi. The 3 of them were staring at the computer with frowns in silence. But when Lishan came back, the eyes of the 3 of them were all focused on Lishan. That look was like seeing a ghost. Lishan was startled and was about to ask why these people suddenly went crazy when Dashi suddenly asked, Lishan, did you do something secretly behind our backs? Lishan was stunned and shook his head in confusion. What can I do behind your back? I just went to the office to get my bag. After hearing this, Dashi turned around and said to the other 2. I said it couldn't be Lishan. Who could do such a stupid thing? At this moment, Shunzi frowned and smacked his lips and said, I understand the logic, but these things happen so coincidentally. The marriage certificate issue was just mentioned an hour ago, and it broke out just now. It's hard not to think of Lishan as the person behind it. Marriage certificate. Lishan's heart skipped a beat, and when he heard this word, he quickly came to the center of the 3 people. As soon as I sat down, I saw a pinned post in the forum. I finally married Ding Han, losers come and envy me, har 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 har. The content in the forum was basically someone announcing that he and the superstar Ding Han had obtained their marriage certificate, and then said some very brainless and stupid things. Finally, he posted a mosaiced marriage certificate and asked the netizens in the forum to guess who he was. For stupid posts like this, the way people usually deal with them is to give them a thumbs down and block them, and say goodbye to them completely. But after all, this popularity was attributed to Ding Han. In other words, it was attributed to the Code of Wealth. Less than an hour after the post was published, it had already become a popular post, and its content could even be seen on various short video and Weibo platforms. For a moment, people were all confused and guessing who this person who claimed to be married to Ding Han was. But more people are still questioning the authenticity of this marriage certificate. After all, who is this Ding Han? She has been in the industry for 2 years and has never been involved in any scandal. How could a great man marry such an iceberg goddess? But when Lishan saw the photos in the post, his brain went blank. Chapter 10, She's the Campus Belle. Because, is T the person in the marriage certificate in this picture the one who holds the title marriage certificate? Although the man's face in the photo was blurred, Li Shan could still tell at a glance that the person in the photo was himself. It was not until this moment that Li Shan finally understood why the group of people he had just seen outside were all staring at their phones in an uncharacteristic way. 9 out of 10 reasons were because of this incident. I guess it was the guy who led the evil six who saw my marriage certificate and posted this. Li Shan felt annoyed, thinking that he was still a step too late after all. He didn't hit these beasts lightly. But now that the heat of this matter has reached such a level, it is obviously impossible to suppress it easily. We can only wait slowly and let time dilute everything. They were so happy at the moment that Shunzi, Lao Li and the other two stared at the man in the photo like human microscopes, frowning constantly. Old Li said as he stroked his chin. The clothes that Li Shan is wearing are exactly the same as yours. Could he really not be you? If this is you, you must explain it clearly to the brothers and don't hide it from them. When Shunzi heard this, he quickly waved his hand and said, "Come on, if they are wearing the same clothes, they are the same person, so you can't say that someone else is wearing the same clothes. Maybe this photo is photoshopped." "Hey, Shunzi, don't say that. This photo is absolutely real. If it's fake, I will eat this computer for you right now. Even if it's true, I don't believe the person inside is Li Shan. If he is Li Shan, I will eat this computer too." Looking at the two people arguing endlessly, Li Shan smiled bitterly in his heart. I don't want to hide it from everyone, but do I dare to say it? If I really tell it and it gets out, this matter will become a big deal. If I want to divorce then, it won't be that easy. Just when Li Shan was about to find an excuse to get away with this, he suddenly exclaimed in joy. "Oh my god, guys, take a look, a tech expert has used restoration technology to remove the mosaic from this photo." "What?" Darsh's words caught everyone's attention, and Li Shan's eyes widened, his heart pounding. Before anyone could stop Darshi from clicking on the post, Darshi just clicked his hand, and the mysterious handsome face on the marriage certificate was finally revealed to everyone. When everyone saw that the man in the photo was actually Li Shan, they all gasped at the same time. The three of them looked at Li Shan in shock. For a moment, they were so shocked that they couldn't utter a word. But silence is better than words at this moment. The looks in the eyes of the three people seemed to have said 1,000 words. Li Shan had no choice but to sigh and say, "Okay, stop pretending. That woman did marry me, but I was forced." The three of them looked at each other and obviously found it difficult to digest what Li Shan said. She swallowed his saliva and asked cautiously, "Li Shan, if you still think we are brothers, just tell us what's going on, okay?" It was futile to hide it now, so Li Shan had to tell the three of them everything that happened last night and how the student union had posted the incident online today. Finally, she threw the bright red marriage certificate at the bottom of her bag onto the table. When everyone saw the marriage certificate, their mouths opened so wide with surprise that 3 or 4 eggs could be stuffed into them. After a while, Darshi recovered and spoke stutteringly. "Damn it, Li Shan, you are actually Ding Hanhan's childhood sweetheart? How come I've never heard you mention this before?" Li Shan shrugged helplessly and said, "I never thought this was an honorable thing. You don't know that female devil. She is not as sweet and lovely as you think. And I also plan to divorce her when he comes back, so you must keep this matter a secret from me." Darshi and Lao Li looked at Li Shan helplessly, thinking to themselves, this kid really doesn't know how lucky he is. If Ding Hanhan and I could get this marriage certificate, even if it was fake, I would treasure it for the rest of my life. But Li Shan really married this big star, but he still looked down on her. But this is his brother's choice after all. Besides, who would want his goddess to marry his brother? At this moment, only Shunzi was looking for something here and there. Li Shan saw it and asked in confusion, "Shunzi, what are you rummaging through?" "Shunzi, let me see if there is a hammer in our dormitory. I will eat this computer screen later." 3 people. Time passed quickly and it was the next day. Originally, Li Shan thought that since he had already confessed everything to his brothers, there shouldn't be any more problems with this matter. But things were not as simple as Li Shan thought. Monday was the day when Li Shan went to class as usual. But from the moment he walked out the door, the atmosphere was clearly wrong. This time, everyone on campus stopped looking down at their phones and turned their eyes to Li Shan. Because someone had dug up Li Shan's photo from yesterday's post, everyone's emotions suddenly reached a boiling point. Some said the photo was photoshopped, some said the certificate was fake, and some said Li Shan was a marriage fraud. In short, all kinds of negative news swept in. As a result, Li Shan became an overnight sensation. No, he became an overnight disgrace and became Ding Hanhan's #1 anti-fan in everyone's eyes. No matter where Li Shan goes, everyone will look at him with murderous eyes. There were even several of them huddled together and whispered something, as if they were going to secretly stab Li Shan in the back. Li Shan walked from the dormitory to the classroom with trepidation, and only then did he feel relieved. Li Shan felt so aggrieved in his heart. He was clearly a victim. He was deceived into marriage and then his story was exposed online. How come he became the bad guy now? Who can I go to for justice? If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have gone for a drink with Ding Hanhan. Li Shan came to the classroom, thinking that he could finally have a peaceful and good class. However, unexpectedly, the students who walked in still gave him the same look, which made Li Shan feel even more uneasy. At this moment, Li Shan felt as if someone was calling his name. When I looked up, I saw a girl wearing a mask at the door, waving her hand towards me. The woman looked familiar, but because she was wearing a mask, Li Shan couldn't tell who she was. But it seems that the other party has no ill intentions. So with doubts, Li Shan came to the door. The woman took Li Shan to an empty corner and took off her mask. When Li Shan saw the woman's true face, he couldn't help but speak in surprise. Chapter 11. There is no such thing as pie in the sky. Pei Shui Na? Why is it you? When Li Shan saw Pei Shui Na, he was shocked. You know, this Pei Shui Na is the famous campus beauty of Shenzhen University. Her beauty is simply like a fairy. If she were in the entertainment industry, even if she was just of ours, she would have enough food and clothing to live a life of ease. Since coming to Shenzhen University, the campus belle of Shenzhen University has never changed in these 4 years. To be honest, Li Shan and Pei Shui Na are acquainted with each other. They were in the same class when they first came to university, but they separated when they started to choose their majors in their sophomore year. However, although the two knew each other, they did not have much of a friendship before. At most, they had met and exchanged a few words. Why would Pei Shui Na suddenly come to find him at this moment? At this moment, Pei Shui Na crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at Li Shan, blinking her big watery eyes and smiling. Isn't it me? How come I've become an internet celebrity and you don't want to acknowledge me as your old friend? Li Shan smiled bitterly and thought to himself, you are really asking for trouble. I am worried about this very thing. Seeing Li Shan's bitter smile, Pei Shui Na spread her hands and said, Okay, don't be angry. I know that because of the post yesterday, it's a bit difficult for you to get along in school, right? Although Li Shan didn't say anything on the surface, he nodded repeatedly in his heart. It's not just that it's difficult for me to survive, I'm almost unable to survive. Pei Shui Na continued. I know someone must have deliberately framed you, but Ding Hanhan is a big star after all. It's probably not that easy to clear up this matter in just a few words. You have to find someone to help you now. Pei Shui Na's words did make some sense, and Li Shan also knew that it would be impossible for him to explain it clearly just by talking, but who should he ask for help? When Li Shan expressed his thoughts, Pei Shui Na unexpectedly pointed at herself and smiled at Li Shan. It has to be me. I think I'm probably the only one in the whole school who can help you. You? How can you help me? Li Shan looked at Pei Shui Na in shock. Pei Shui Na put her hands on her hips and spoke with confidence. It's simple. People are hostile to you now simply because they think you are married to Ding Hanhan. Regarding that scandal, if you want to explain it clearly, the best way is for you to announce to the outside world that you already have a girlfriend and that the post was just someone's malicious prank on you. When people see that you have a girlfriend who is a campus beauty, you can explain it to them and they will naturally let down their guard against you. Pei Shui Na said this while blinking at Li Shan, which undoubtedly meant that as long as you and I pretend to be a couple, this problem can definitely be solved. Huh? That's actually an idea. After hearing Pei Shui Na's words, Li Shan began to have doubts in his heart. But after thinking about it, Li Shan raised his head and asked in confusion. It's a good idea, but why are you helping me? Indeed, there is no such thing as a free lunch. It is absolutely impossible that Pei Shui Na would come to me and ask for help just because I have talked to her a few times before. If there is no benefit to be gained, Li Shan finds it hard to believe that there would be people in the world who would be willing to help others for no reason. Pei Shui Na puffed out her chest proudly and said this complacently. I want to help you, of course, because I don't accept Ding Hanhan. You don't accept Ding Hanhan? Li Shan widened his eyes and looked at Pei Shui Na, who was extremely confident. That's right. Although Ding Hanhan is indeed a big star, I think my appearance is no worse than hers. Now is a good opportunity for you to prove my charm. What you need is a very beautiful girlfriend, and what I need is to prove myself. Aren't we a perfect match? Li Shan looked Pei Shuana up and down. Indeed, as the school belle for 4 years, Pei Shuana can be said to be a one-to-one beauty in terms of both appearance and figure. It is no exaggeration to describe her as being so stunning that she can make fish sink to the bottom of the water, geese fall to the ground, and the moon hide in shame on the flowers. But isn't it a bit hasty to agree to pretend to be a couple with Ding Hanhan just because he wanted to compete with her in charm? In this case, isn't she afraid of causing some scandal about herself? Seeing that Li Shan was still looking at her with questioning eyes, Pei Shuana's face froze, but she quickly reacted and explained. Of course, besides that, I'm not helping you be your girlfriend for free. Of course, you have to pay. And my price is not cheap. Only then did Li Shan suddenly realize that the other party came to him to make some extra money. Although he was not unable to pay the money, the last drinking incident with Ding Hanhan did leave a shadow on Li Shan. Li Shan didn't dare to do anything rash now. Especially when pretending to be a couple with a school beauty, who knows if it might cause you more trouble if things go wrong. By then, it would be like picking up sesame seeds and losing watermelons, which is really not worth it. So Li Shan turned around and waved his hand to refuse. Forget it, I'll talk about this later as I still need to think about it. Thank you for coming to help me with some advice. See you later. Hey, don't go, the price is negotiable, if it doesn't work, you can get a lower price. Seeing Li Shan leave without looking back, Pei Shuana stayed where she was, frowning and talking to herself. It's really strange. I spent the whole night thinking of a good excuse, but he didn't listen at all. Is it because I asked for money? Did it leave a bad impression on him? Oh, Pei Shuana, why are you so stupid? A good plan was delayed by your mouth. Pei Shuana, who had no intention of giving up, hesitated again and again after hearing the bell for class. Finally, she sighed and turned away. After returning to the classroom, Li Shan kept repeating the conversation between himself and Pei Shuana in his mind. What Pei Shuana said was indeed a good plan. If it goes well, I can really convince her of this matter. But Li Shan knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch, only traps. In order to avoid traps, you should think of other ways. Just when Li Shan was puzzled about how to suppress the matter, the door of the classroom slammed and was kicked open rudely by an old professor. Professor Du wore large gold-rimmed glasses, had a chubby figure, and had slightly graying hair on his head. Although he was not usually very amiable, he was not as rude as he was today. Intuition told everyone that the old professor was extremely nervous at the moment, and today's class was definitely not easy. Li Shan sat in his seat and didn't know if it was an illusion or what, but he always felt that the professor was staring at him with strange eyes. Chapter 12. This is a bit beyond the scope. Maybe it's because I've received too many strange looks today. Or maybe the old professor's eyes were indeed a little unfriendly. Li Shan sat in his seat, feeling that the old professor had been glancing at him intentionally or unintentionally since he entered the door, and his eyes were full of malice. But no matter what, he had no grudge against the old professor, and he was not worried that he would do anything extreme. So Li Shan began to open his book and listen to the class carefully. I have to say that this god of study system is really powerful. Ever since Li Shan opened the book, the contents of the book have been firmly imprinted in Li Shan's mind like a branding iron. I took notes while flipping through the book, and before I knew it, I had finished the whole book. Even the subjects that the old professor had not taught were now clearly understood by Li Shan. This god-like learning system not only remembers the content, but also extracts its essence, allowing Li Shan to draw inferences from it. Just when Li Shan suddenly understood, a piece of chalk was thrown on his desk without any warning. Li Shan was startled and looked up. The old professor was staring at him with eyes wide open. If anyone didn't know, one would think he had made some big mistake. Li Shan, come here. Fill in the answer to this question for me. Li Shan raised his head and saw half the blackboard filled with densely packed formulas in front of him, which really scared him. The old professor didn't explain much from the moment he came in. While Li Shan was reading, the old professor had been planning the questions on the blackboard, as if he was giving special instructions to someone. When the students standing by saw the old professor asking Li Shan to come up to the stage to solve the problem, they all covered their mouths and laughed. When they first entered the room, they were wondering what was wrong with the old professor today. He wrote so many things on the blackboard silently, and it turned out that this was all for Lishan. Who caused this guy to cause such a big stir on the internet? Why did he have to become Han's goddess when he could just ride on someone else's popularity? Should. This is what you deserve. This time there will be some fun to watch. Lishan realized something was wrong when he saw this, and thought to himself, even if he was distracted for a while during class, he shouldn't be treated so harshly, right? Seeing Lishan hesitate, the old professor slammed the table and yelled. Lishan! Can't you hear me asking you to come up to the stage and solve the problem? I'm telling you, if you don't solve this problem today, you'll fail my class at the end of the semester. When the students heard the professor say that if they couldn't solve the questions they would fail the course, they were extremely happy and started muttering to each other. Good boy, this professor is really ruthless today, deliberately making things difficult for Lishan. It seems that Lishan is doomed. This is what they call a sinner's fate. Forget about the problem on the stage. Even if you call the top student in the grade, he can't solve it. This is not something a human can solve. If he can solve it, I will eat all the desks in the class in front of you. Seeing that the old professor had made the final announcement, Lishan had no choice but to stand up and go to the blackboard to take out the chalk, and quickly solve the problem on the blackboard. Holy crap, what's going on? Can this kid really solve the problem? This is just made up. He already understood the question, how dare he write something like that? No, he seems to have solved it correctly. It seems that he was right before, but now it's not right. I feel sick, I just can't understand it. Everyone was excited for a moment. Who could have thought that someone could actually solve such a terrifying problem? And he was able to find the correct answer accurately with just one glance. Is this a human? This is simply a god. At this moment, the old professor's expression gradually changed from smug to increasingly ugly. He had pondered over this question all night before coming up with it. In order to increase the difficulty of the question, he spent an entire night polishing it and added candlestick traps into it. If you are not careful, the answer to the whole question will be greatly deviated. But at this moment, Lishan actually wrote down the answers, and every one of them was correct, and he didn't use any of his traps. The old professor was shocked. Something was wrong. He hadn't even explained many of the knowledge points here. Some of them were even picked out from the later knowledge points. How could this kid know the answers? As the last stroke of chalk fell on the blackboard, the other half of the blackboard was already filled with Lishan's densely packed answers to the problems. Lishan also threw the remaining chalk onto the podium and walked towards his seat without looking back. This problem might be a hellish problem for other people, but for Lishan, who possesses the god of study system, it is not much better than 1 + 1 is equal to 2. Seeing that Lishan really wrote out the answer, the old professor widened his eyes and tried to nitpick the entire question and find some small problems to make things difficult for Lishan. But after reading it for a long time, I found that Lishan's answer was almost perfect. There was no problem at all. After confirming again and again, the old professor tremblingly took off his glasses from his face and said unwillingly, HMPH, well, you're lucky, you got the answer right. Hiss. When everyone learned from the old professor that Lishan had really solved the problem, they all gasped at the same time and looked at Lishan in horror. Wow! Is this kid cheating? He can even solve this kind of problem. Impossible, this is impossible. When did this kid have such talent? Why haven't I seen it before? Could it be that he has been pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger all along? Don't worry about whether they are pretending to be pigs or not. Think about how you are going to eat at the table for the whole class first. The class was in an uproar again. Lishan was about to sit down when he heard the old professor shouting again from behind. Lishan, come back. Solve this problem. If you can't solve it, you can forget about graduating. What the hell? Lishan looked up and saw that the old professor had erased all the questions he had just written and rewrote a bunch of dry and difficult to understand formulas. These formulas are not taught by the professor, but are things you will learn later. It was not until this moment that the other students in the class realized that something was wrong, because these questions were seriously beyond the syllabus, and it was obvious that the old professor did not want to make things easy for Lishan. Lishan raised his head and asked with an unhappy look. Professor Du, you haven't taught me these questions yet, how can I solve them? Don't worry about whether I called you before or not. Are you the professor or am I the professor? Either you get up on stage and write the answers for me right now, or you're going to fail the course. Li Shan frowned and thought to himself, I didn't offend this old professor, what happened to him today? But since the old professor said so, I have to do it. So Li Shan went on stage again, just glanced at the questions, then picked up the chalk and quickly wrote all the answers on the blackboard. As Li Shan solved the problems faster and faster, more and more cold sweat appeared on the old professor's forehead. Chapter 13, Fainting from Anger. I finished writing. If there's no problem, I'll go back. Not long after taking the stage, Li Shan solved all the densely packed questions. All the students in the audience were dumbfounded. They hadn't even seen the question clearly, but this guy had already solved it. The old professor's face turned pale, and beads of sweat the size of beans kept oozing out of his forehead. He originally guessed that these questions might not stop Li Shan, but whenever he saw him hesitate while solving a problem, he would bring it up in public and give him a scolding. But the old professor could never have imagined that Li Shan not only did not hesitate at all, but his accuracy in answering the questions was as high as 100%. The answer on the blackboard was textbook level, and I couldn't find any flaws at all. Seeing Li Shan swaggeringly throwing down the chalk and about to go back, the old professor couldn't stand it anymore and slammed the table and yelled, Li Shan, let me tell you, you failed my class. Why? Li Shan turned around and glared at the old professor with a frown on his face. The old professor's behavior today already made people feel that something was wrong. Now he failed me for no reason at all, which was clearly targeting me. Since the other party doesn't look like a good professor, why should I be his good student? Why? Because I'm a professor. Because you dare to insult our daughter Han Han. The old professor said this and the whole class pricked up their ears. Although the old professor did not finish saying the 4 words, Goddess Han Han, it was enough for the students to guess what the old professor wanted to say. The classroom was dead silent for a moment, and everyone looked at the old professor with strange eyes. No, this old professor deliberately picked on Li Shan, maybe it was because of the incident with Goddess Han Han. Oh my! This is too disgusting. You are already old, but you are chasing stars to this extent. Do you even have the sense of responsibility as a teacher? This old cow still wants to eat young grass. How shameless! Bar. The old professor heard the people mumbling in low voices in the audience and became so angry that his face turned red and smoke came out of his head. He slammed the table and yelled, What's wrong with me being old? Can't I have things I like when I'm old? Don't bother talking about me. I just like Goddess Han Han, so what? This kid has done us Goddess Han Han a disgrace. If I don't teach him a lesson today, how can I be worthy of Goddess Han Han? At this moment, all the explanations of the old professor seemed unreasonable in people's eyes. Although the students stopped discussing it, their strange looks became more intense. At this moment, Li Shan's face was gloomy, and the anger in his heart was gradually increasing. Ding Han Han. It's Ding Han Han's mess again. I can't get rid of it, right? At this time, the voice of the system sounded in Li Shan's ears again. Primary task, show everyone the host and Ding Han Han's marriage certificate. When he heard about this task, Li Shan's face darkened and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Li Shan was already in an extremely unhappy mood today, and the old professor's words made him even more furious. From the inexplicable marriage to the involvement in student union affairs, and then to being exposed online and receiving strange looks from others, all these things have made Li Shan upset. At this moment, the old professor was like a madman, causing trouble for himself for no apparent reason. As the saying goes, even a rabbit will kick an eagle when it is angry. Who doesn't he have a temper? Since the system task has come, I might as well take this opportunity to deal with him. Since you don't want me to have an easy life, fine. Then don't expect me to make it easy for you. Seeing the angry old professor, Li Shan was not stunned like other students. Instead, he sneered and said, Professor Du, oh no, old Du, you don't deserve the title of professor. Just because of the incident of Ding Han Han and I getting married, you have lost even the most basic ethics as a teacher. Bar. Stop slandering Goddess Han Han here. If you dare to spread rumors about marrying Goddess Han Han again, believe it or not, I will fight you to the death. At this moment, the old professor rolled up his sleeves and prepared to fight Li Shan to the death at any time. Li Shan sneered, took out a small red notebook from his pocket and threw it on the table. Okay, you don't think I'm slandering your Goddess Han Han, so I'm going to tell you all today. Yes, I am married to Ding Han. This is our marriage certificate. If you don't believe me, you can find a professional to authenticate it. What? Li Shan's words were like a bombshell, exploding in front of everyone. For a moment, people came to the podium one after another to look at the marriage certificate. The moment everyone saw the marriage certificate, it was as if they were struck by a bolt from the blue. When the old professor saw the marriage certificate thrown out of Li Shan's hand, his mind buzzed and went blank, and it took him a while to recover. After recovering from his shock, the old professor rushed to the front of the stage like a madman, grabbed the marriage certificate, and opened it tremblingly. When he saw the names of Ding Han and Li Shan, he felt dizzy. Others may not recognize the marriage certificate, but I have been married for so many years, how can I not know about it? Li Shan's ID is obviously real. That means the post online is true. Damn, this marriage certificate looks real. I thought it was photoshopped at first. So, Li Shan and Goddess Han. No, we still have to judge rationally. What if this marriage certificate is fake? Although the students next to him were talking non-stop, the old professor seemed to have entered a state of trance and was completely unable to hear what others were saying. He held the marriage certificate in his hand, his whole body trembling, his lips turning pale, and beads of sweat the size of beans dripping down his forehead. Impossible, this is impossible. How could Goddess Han marry such a person? She's mine, his mine, how is this possible? Oh. Who would have thought that the old professor became more and more confused as he looked at the marriage certificate, his body trembling, and he fell to the ground with a bang. Everyone was so frightened that they quickly dialed 120. Although the old professor was sent to the hospital after being angered by Li Shan, he was fine and Li Shan felt relieved, but the matter did not end there. Because of Li Shan's impulsive behavior in class, the issue of Li Shan's marriage certificate once again became a hot topic in the school, and public opinion on the internet also experienced a second escalation, becoming even more sensational. At this moment, Li Shan was sitting in the cafeteria with a bitter look on his face. Chapter 14. If you have the ability, come in and do it. Good fellow, Li Shan. You are really amazing. There are hot news one after another. If it were me, you should just take this opportunity to become an internet celebrity. You will definitely make a lot of money. In the cafeteria of Shenzhen University, Darshi, who was sitting opposite Li Shan, was staring at the Chibar Weibo on his phone and laughing non-stop, and he kept giving Li Shan a thumbs up. Ever since the Ding Han marriage certificate incident broke last night, Li Shan has been the subject of several hot news stories today. Shocking, the Gossip College student revealed ironclad evidence about Ding Han's marriage certificate incident. Is it true or false? The most powerful college student in history, who angered the professor into the hospital in public. These hot news stories were not only written in great detail and vividness, but also included many real photos of Li Shan, which greatly enhanced the authenticity of the news. For a while, the comment section was extremely lively. Some people cursed, some called him an expert, and there were also many little fans who were infatuated with Li Shan because of his handsome looks. It can be said that Li Shan's use of this wave of popularity is simply perfect. Just like Darshi said, it's not impossible to take the opportunity to debut as an internet celebrity. But Li Shan didn't have that heart. At this moment, Li Shan had a gloomy face and dull eyes. It was obvious that the news had made Li Shan physically and mentally exhausted. He had never thought that he would get into such a mess. In the final analysis, he still couldn't be greedy for Ding Han's wine. Li Shan secretly swore in his heart that he must quit drinking. No matter who asked him to drink in the future, he would never touch a sip again. Of course, in addition to the negative news that made Li Shan physically and mentally exhausted, another part of it came from the problem of the system rewards this time. After making the old professor so angry that he was sent to the hospital, Li Shan naturally came to collect a reward. However, the reward for this mission hit Li Shan hard. Mission reward, Top Chef Cooking System LV1. Reward introduction, the level will be upgraded according to the host's cooking frequency, and you will be proficient in various cuisines at home and abroad. When receiving the reward, Li Shan's face turned green. He didn't plan to be a chef in the future, so why would such a rubbish reward be opened? It seems that the rewards given to me by my system may not always be useful. At this moment, when Li Shan looked at his system panel, he felt as if he had missed out on 100 million yuan. How could he be happy? Although Li Shan was in a bad mood, Darshi enjoyed teasing him while stuffing rice into his mouth. Li Shan, why do you have to worry about this? If others misunderstand that Ding Han Han and I are married, I will wake up laughing in my dreams. You should not be so ungrateful for what you have. If you ask me, you just. Oh my god, there must be dead rats mixed in this meal, why is it so disgusting? As he was speaking, daze had just put a mouthful of rice into his mouth when his face turned green and he quickly turned his head away and spit out the rice. Seeing this, Lishan's brows slightly frowned, and finally a smile appeared on his face. Daze, this is the punishment God has given you. Let's see if you dare to gossip again in the future. As he spoke, Lishan stretched out his chopsticks and stuffed a mouthful of rice into his mouth. As soon as it entered his mouth, he smelled a taste that was like everything but not like rice. Lishan was shocked and quickly turned around and spat out the food in his mouth. Oh my god, what's in this dish? Why is it so unpalatable? Lishan was stunned. How could there be such a strange person in the world who could cook the food so disgustingly? Lishan and daze looked at each other, and their eyes met. Silence was more powerful than words. Since the school system reform, it was said that this cafeteria had been contracted by the principal's brother-in-law. And according to the principal, due to food safety issues, all students must eat in the cafeteria and are prohibited from ordering takeout, so this cafeteria is also the only way for students in the school to eat. At this moment, daze touched his round belly and cursed angrily. Damn it! I've been eating all my life and I've eaten all kinds of bad food. It's okay if it tastes bad, but at least it won't kill you. This thing obviously doesn't intend to leave anyone alive. No. We have to go find him and have a fight. As he said that, daze walked straight towards the window where he had just gotten his meals. Although Lishan didn't have any requirements for food and drink, he also wanted to see what kind of strange person was who could cook such terrible dishes and yet dare to open a cafeteria in the university. The two of them came to the window where they had just gotten their meals. There were already quite a few people gathered in front of the window. These people were not there to get meals, but had just finished their meals and came here to complain. Is the food you sell edible? I just took a bite and it almost sent me packing. You must give us a reasonable explanation today. Yes, you have the nerve to force us to buy this kind of rubbish. Even takeout food can't kill us, but you're the one that's killing us. 10,000 people pledged their love and blood. If the cafeteria is not rectified today, we will not leave. Seeing a large group of people rushing to the cafeteria to vent their dissatisfaction, a person in charge of the cafeteria stood up and spoke in a nonchalant tone while banging a broken basin. What are you babbling about? If you want to eat, eat. If you don't want to eat, get out. It's your principal who forced you to eat in the cafeteria. I'm not telling you that this is how I cook at home. If you have the guts, come in and cook for me. The person in charge was none other than the principal's brother-in-law Zhu Dachang. Zhu Dachang's appearance was already ugly enough, but with his greasy hair, greasy clothes, and curled fingernails from not being cut for a long time, he looked dirty. With such a person in charge of the canteen, can the food produced be guaranteed? Everyone felt nauseous when they saw it, especially when they heard the sentence, if you have the ability, come in and cook a meal, which aroused everyone's anger. No, this refrigerator doesn't cool. Can't we say anything? We still have to learn how to cool it first. That's right, if the air conditioner doesn't blow air, do we have to learn how to blow air before we can talk about air conditioning? At this moment, when Zhu Dachang heard this, his mouth widened, revealing his yellow teeth to the students. Yes, the refrigerator doesn't cool. You don't need to learn how to cool. But you have to be able to afford to buy a refrigerator before you can comment on its quality. You can't even cook. What right do you have to say that the food we cook is not delicious? I still say the same thing. If you say my cooking is not good, come in and make one. If you come in and cook better than me, I will pack my bags and leave now, and let someone else take over the cafeteria. I never imagined among these students that this old guy could be so eloquent and it was impossible to win an argument with him. Seeing that all the students were speechless due to his choking, Zhu Dachang showed a victorious smile. But at this moment, a very discordant voice in the crowd sang a different tune. Isn't it just cooking? Who can't do it? I'll do it. Chapter 15, Victory or defeat depends on this move. Everyone's attention was quickly drawn to the sound. It turns out that the person who said this was none other than Lishan. In fact, Lishan had no intention of getting involved in this mess. After all, he was already well known enough in school, and causing more trouble would only bring him more trouble. But Li Shan understood that Zhu Dachang was able to hold onto this position because of his connections and influence. If no one could bring him down, he would probably have to face these disgusting meals every day in the future. For long-term planning, it is necessary for me to solve the problem. Of course, these are secondary. The most important thing is that just now my system popped up another task for me. System task: compete with your opponent in a cooking contest and win. When everyone turned around and saw Li Shan's handsome face, someone recognized Li Shan at a glance and exclaimed, "Oh my god, you're not that popular guy on the internet. I never thought I'd meet an internet celebrity in real life. Hey, I know him. This guy is the one who made old Du so angry that he went to the hospital this morning. What a coincidence that I can see him here. Wow, he's from our school. Is there such a great guy in our school?" When everyone saw Li Shan this moment, they were no longer filled with hostility like they were in the morning. After all, Li Shan has a lot of things going on right now, some good and some bad, and this time it was Li Shan who stood up, so people's impression of Li Shan is no longer so bad. At this moment Li Shan came to the window and said calmly, "Isn't it just cooking? Let's make a bet here today. If I can cook delicious food, you can ask the principal not to force students to eat only your food anymore." At this moment, Li Shan stepped forward, which was extremely impressive in the eyes of outsiders, but in Dashi's eyes, it was a devastating disaster. Dashi hurriedly came to Li Shan's side, grabbed the corner of Li Shan's clothes, and muttered, "Li Shan, come on, have you forgotten that the last time you cooked for us, the kitchen almost burned down? The smell of the food was not much stronger than this. If you mess it up later, we will be embarrassed." What Dashi said was true. Once, Li Shan and Dashi went out to eat. Li Shan drank too much and snatched the big spoon from the chef of the restaurant and started cooking himself. As a result, not only did the food become burnt like charcoal, but it almost burned down the restaurant's kitchen. I had to pay some money and was blacklisted by the restaurant. Thinking of this, Li Shan looked a little embarrassed and waved his hand. As the saying goes, when you've been away for 3 days, you should look at people with new eyes. I could be a top chef the next minute, but I can't cook 1 minute. When Dashi heard this, he was about to curse and say it was nonsense, but he never expected that Zhu Dachang had heard everything they said. When Zhu Dachang heard that Li Shan couldn't cook at all, he was delighted. "Okay, I'll just wait for a fool like this to come up and pick a fight with me. By then, when he ruins the meal, he will have a reason to convince everyone. What's more, from the looks of it, this guy seems to be a little internet celebrity. If I use this incident to promote myself, won't my business be able to grow bigger, right?" So Zhu Dachang quickly took advantage of the opportunity to speak. "Okay." The classmates all heard it. It was this kid who took the initiative to cause trouble. Let's let him do it today. When he's done, I will close my stall and let someone else take over the cafeteria. When everyone heard this, they immediately cheered and applauded for Li Shan. Although they don't know whether Li Shan can cook delicious food and kick the boss out, the showdown between this internet celebrity and the canteen is still eye-catching enough. Many people have even taken out their mobile phones to record the video, and some even took the opportunity to live broadcast it. Seeing that the matter was getting more and more serious, Dashi quickly stood up and waved his hand and said, No, my brother was just joking, we won't do this." Even though Dashi was indeed thinking about Li Shan, things had already reached a climax at this moment, and it was obvious that no one was buying what Dashi said. And Zhu Dachang said it even more fiercely. "What? You're backing out before it even starts. In my opinion, you're not good enough. Since you don't have the ability, just admit defeat and get out of here." Hearing this, Dashi gritted his teeth and wished he could punch the old guy twice on the spot. This is clearly an attempt to force Li Shan into a dangerous situation. But there's nothing we can do. Who made Li Shan say those words in a fit of anger? Dashi was also very anxious at the moment, but Li Shan patted Dashi on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Dashi, today I will show you what a cooking master is." Having said that, Li Shan walked into the cafeteria and picked up a big spoon in front of everyone. Seeing this, Dashi could only sigh and mourn for Li Shan in his heart. "This is all your own fault. If you lose face, your brothers won't be able to help you. You are still a small internet celebrity now, and this incident will probably make you infamous." There were a few assassins who had started live streaming. When they saw Li Shan really walking towards the backstage of the kitchen, they hurriedly shouted into the live streaming room, "Dear ones, take a quick look. This is the young man who had the marriage certificate scandal with Ding Hanhan before. He is now fighting against the evil cafeteria forces. The whole process will be broadcast live. I look forward to everyone watching. It can be said that any hot event involving Ding Hanhan will cause a big sensation. Li Shan has taken advantage of Ding Hanhan's popularity and is now soaring. The Assassin's live broadcast room has already had hundreds of thousands of views just at the beginning, and people have entered the live broadcast room to watch this exciting game. It can be said that if Li Shan messes up this time, he will really become infamous as Darshi guessed. Coming to the stove, Li Shan looked at the pots and pans. Even though he really didn't know how to cook before, now when he sees these, he feels like there is a kind of natural magic. As long as he gets started, he can do everything well. So Li Shan flexibly touched all the kitchen utensils, but in Zhu Dachang's eyes, all this turned into a beginner's lack of familiarity with kitchen utensils, and he sneered in his heart. Humph, I knew it. This brat really can't cook. How can a cook spend so much time cooking right away? Okay, it looks like God has really gifted me with this. I really hope that more fools like this will come to my business in the future. Won't it become more and more prosperous? But the other students became very anxious when they saw that Li Shan did not cook for a long time after he came in. Everyone was wondering whether Li Shan could cook. Just when everyone began to question, the next scene left everyone dumbfounded. Chapter 16, Can we practice jewel cultivation? After only a moment of hesitation, Li Shan started moving. He reached out and took out some ingredients from the bag next to him and put them on the table. The originally heavy kitchen knife in Li Shan's hand moved very fast as if it had life. Everyone could only see a few after images passing through Li Shan's hands. In just a moment, the vegetables on the table had been cut into shreds of uniform thickness and size. Li Shan's superb knife skills caused everyone in the audience to exclaim in surprise, and they were so happy that they were stunned. Oh my god, is this still Li Shan? She still remembers that once in Li Shan's restaurant, he cut vegetables every few seconds and almost cut his hand off. Isn't the knife too fast now? Zhu Dachang was also confused. What's going on? Doesn't this kid know how to cook? It would take at least decades to master knife skills. But how old is this kid? Before anyone could react, Li Shan had already started cooking the dishes. Originally, Chinese cooking is not as entertaining as Western cooking, and the movements of flipping the spoon do not look elegant. But in Li Shan's hands, this inelegant behavior seemed so chic. Every time he flipped the wok and every time he stirred the food, he seemed so calm and composed. For a moment, almost everyone in the live broadcast room was shocked by Li Shan's cooking skills. Oh my god, is this really cooking and not performance art? This is so cool. Oh my god, boys who can cook are the most handsome. I wish I had a boyfriend like him. I love him so much. Strong? Too strong, he is worthy of being the guy who has been involved in a scandal with Goddess Han. Now it seems that he is indeed worthy of Goddess Han. In no time, Li Shan's cooking skills have won him a lot of fans, and the popularity of the major live broadcast rooms has also soared. In the cafeteria, almost everyone's expression was one of shock. It was not until Li Shan served the dishes from his ultimate move on the table that everyone came to their senses. Not to mention how it tastes, just looking at this delicious dish with both color and aroma is much better than the pot of rotten cabbage and broken tofu they just ate. Needless to say, the outcome of this competition is clear, and we all know who wins and who loses. Just when all the students were looking at Zhu Dachang strangely, Zhu Dachang shouted in anger. Nonsense! What's the point of making it look good? The taste is what's important. Let me try it. Zhu Dachang was clearly being shameless at this point. He thought to himself, he would taste it himself later, and no matter how delicious the dish was, he would definitely say it was unpalatable. Wouldn't it be okay for you to just deny it when the time comes? So Zhu Dachang picked up his chopsticks and stuffed the food into his mouth without saying a word. But when he took the first bite, Zhu Dachang was completely dumbfounded. I have been eating all my life, but I have never tasted such delicious food. For a moment, Zhu Dachang spoke subconsciously as if he was bathing in heaven. This is too delicious, wait. No, it's disgusting. This is too disgusting, no, what he made is even more disgusting than what I made. Although Zhu Dachang came to his senses in time and scolded Li Shan for cooking a terrible meal, everyone was not stupid, so how could they not see the truth behind it? Even the people in the live broadcast room were denouncing it. Oh my god, who is this old man? Why is he so disgusting? It's delicious, but he won't admit it. I heard that the school cafeteria is contracted by the principal's brother-in-law, and the food they serve is extremely unpalatable. Many students have already complained about this. There is such a thing. No wonder this old guy has been refusing to admit it. Although a group of students and others were scolding Zhu Dachang still maintained his shameless attitude. Zhu Dachang believes that as long as he is shameless enough, no one can do anything to him. But at this moment, the cell phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He took it out and saw that it was his cousin, the principal, calling him. Zhu Dachang was shocked. Why was his cousin calling him at this time? With doubts, as soon as I answered the phone, I heard the principal's crazy roar on the ground. Damn it! Zhu Dachang, do you want to die? Do you know how serious a crime you have committed? Upon hearing this, Zhu Dachang was so frightened that he trembled with fear, wondering what he had done that even alarmed his cousin. No. Cousin, what happened? Don't get excited. Let's talk slowly. Stop talking so much. The safety issues in your school cafeteria have been exposed. Now the Food Safety Bureau and the Education Bureau are calling me. You should pack up your things and close the cafeteria today. I will replace you with someone else tomorrow. It turned out that during the live broadcast just now, someone took the opportunity to report the problems in the Shenzhen University cafeteria to the relevant local departments, and public opinion has escalated to the point where it cannot be suppressed. Hearing the principal's furious words, Zhu Dachang felt as if all his bones were pulled out and he sat down on the ground. Cousin, don't be impulsive. I pay you so much money every month. You can't just ignore me. This is my life. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will kill you now. Get out of here right now. After saying this, the principal hung up the phone without mercy, leaving Zhu Dachang sitting on the ground like a lost soul, muttering constantly, "It's all over, it's all over." Damn, Lishan, you really are a hidden talent. So you were just pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger before, right? At this moment, Daze, who had just left the cafeteria, was walking back to the dormitory with Lishan, and he kept giving Lishan a thumbs up. How could he have imagined that Lishan was so good at cooking, and those few moves he just made were so ridiculously cool? Lishan just smiled faintly and didn't say anything. This was all thanks to the reward given to him by the system. At this moment, Lishan quietly opened his system panel and clicked, "Receive reward." The system quickly popped up a new reward. Mission reward, Martial Arts Master System LV1. Reward introduction. Activating this system will help the host improve a significant amount of physical functions, and will greatly improve the host's fighting ability. The upgrade method requires the host to practice continuously. Lishan was delighted when he saw this martial arts master system. This is really fun. After all, which boy has fantasized about becoming a martial arts master when he was a child? However, the system rewards this time are somewhat different from before. This time, the ability level is not improved based on usage, but through practice. There is also a separate page of cultivation options in this system, which contains two options, single cultivation and dual cultivation. When Lishan saw the dual cultivation, his eyes widened. What the hell? Could it be that double cultivation is like what is shown on TV, with a girl? Chapter 17. It's too late to run. Hiss. Is there really dual cultivation in this world? Lishan originally thought that the dual cultivation of the male and female protagonists in the TV series was quite ridiculous. How could it be possible to improve the so-called internal strength through that method? Now that the system has assigned dual cultivation to himself, Lishan is somewhat excited and wants to give it a try. However, this was just a thought, and soon Lishan faced the reality that he didn't have a partner with whom he could practice dual cultivation. I'm not usually a big shot, so I have very few female friends around me. The only one who is extremely familiar with him is Ding Hanhan. Even though she is his wife now, if he really lets that female devil practice dual cultivation with him, he will probably be killed by her as soon as he proposes the idea. Thinking of Ding Hanhan's face, Lishan shuddered subconsciously and shook his head quickly. If you want to live 2 more years, you'd better quickly cut off ties with that female devil. The two were walking back when they suddenly heard someone shouting Lishan's name not far away. The two stopped and looked in the direction of the voice, only to see old Li running up to Lishan like crazy, speaking breathlessly. Lishan, you, don't do that. Hurry up and do this, that. Seeing that Lao Li was talking incoherently, Darcy patted Lao Li on the shoulder and said in annoyance. Old Li, were you chased by a dog or something? Just tell me what you want to say. Why are you in such a hurry? Old Li rolled his eyes at Darcy in annoyance, tried to take a deep breath to calm himself down, and then shouted excitedly. Li Shen! Stop hanging around here. Something big has happened. Someone is trying to cause trouble for you. Run! Old Li held the thing and pushed Li Shen anxiously, as if he was afraid that Li Shen would not run away. Li Shen and Daze looked at each other, both puzzled. I just came back from the cafeteria and didn't offend anyone. Who would cause trouble for me? Besides, even if he was looking for trouble with me, who could scare Lao Li like this? The fat man puffed out his chest, walked up to the two men with a very righteous look, pushed Lao Li in annoyance and said. Old Li, when did you become so timid? If someone is looking for trouble with Li Shen, what are we going to do? We are all brothers, how can we let our brothers be bullied? Old Li did not stop what he was doing. Instead, he glared at the fat man and continued speaking. We can't afford to offend this person. Let Li Shen find a place to hide and avoid the limelight. There are still people in this school that we can't afford to offend. Whoever is so arrogant, I will deal with them for Li Shen. Shen Lian. R. When he heard Lao Li say the name Shen Lian, he felt as if a bolt from the blue had struck his heart, and he almost peed his pants with fright. He quickly imitated Lao Li, pushing Li Shen and shouting. Run! Li Shen, run quickly! Don't look back, we will come find you after the storm has passed. Li Shen didn't know whether to laugh or cry when seeing the two people's looks. He turned around and shook them off, then spread his hands and said helplessly. No, who is Shen Lian? Is there any need to be so scared? Is it really necessary to be so scared? Take that word, Mar, off of me. When the fat man saw Li Shen's fearless look, he became even more angry and spoke quickly. Li Shen, are you really stupid or are you just pretending to be stupid? Don't you know Shen Lian, the biological son of the chairman of the Shen Group in Shenzhen City? Li Shen lowered his head and thought for a while, and it seemed that he did have some impression. It can be said that the Shen Group controls the entire lifeline of Shenzhen. It has experience in various fields and is an expert in sales operations at home and abroad. It is for this reason that the Shen Group is the undisputed largest group in Shenzhen. As the only son of Shen Qingming, chairman of the Shen Group, Shen Lian was naturally born with a silver spoon in his mouth and was pampered and raised by his father like a treasure. But I'm afraid it will break if I hold it in my hands, and I'm afraid it will melt if I put it in my mouth. I treasure it so much. It is precisely because of his family's wealth and power, coupled with his father's pampering, that Shen Lian has developed so many bad habits. Not only does he have a bad temper, but he also likes to form gangs and cause trouble everywhere. After all, if something happens, Shen Lian has nothing to fear as his family will back him up. Shenzhen News has reported a lot of negative news about Shen Lian in recent years, but they were all suppressed by the Shen Group later. Thinking of this person, Li Shen nodded thoughtfully, and then said lightly. He's just a playboy. I didn't provoke him. Why would he bother me? Is there a mistake? Old Li quickly shook his head and explained. Li Shen, you didn't provoke him, but you did something to provoke him. Don't you know that Shen Lian is the president of the Shenzhen Love Ding Hanhan Association, and he has long been against Ding Hanhan's love for him? Now that the news of your marriage to Ding Hanhan has been exposed, he naturally feels that he has been cuckolded. He will definitely not let it go against his love rival. This time he came to you, most likely because of this matter. After hearing this, Li Shen's face was filled with black lines. This is too ridiculous. What kind of person is this, the president of the Shenzhen City Ari Ding Hanhan Association? What kind of crappy association is this? If the people in this association knew that I was married to Ding Hanhan, and that Ding Hanhan tricked me into marrying him, I wonder if they would be furious on the spot. Seeing that Li Shen was still in a daze, Darcy spoke anxiously. Li Shen, don't stand there stupidly. Shen Lian is a big devil in Shenzhen City. It will be a big trouble if he gets involved. I heard that he killed people, but he was suppressed by the group with money. Let's not take this risk. After hearing Darcy's words, Old Li nodded quickly. Yes, Li Shen, I just saw them all coming to the dormitory to block you. If they can't find you later, they will probably come looking for you. You'd better run. Just when everyone was urging Li Shan to run away and avoid the limelight, the system once again dispatched a task. Primary task: upgrade the martial arts master system to LV2. Task description: for the first solo practice, you need to use the martial arts master system to its fullest. After activating the system, you do not need to continue fighting in subsequent practice. When Li Shan heard this task, he was stunned. Simply put, this system tells yourself to fight and unleash the full capabilities of this martial arts master system, otherwise you will not be able to continue your practice. But where should I go to use this system? At this moment, 7 or 8 completely different sports cars came speeding from not far away, came to Li Shan and his group, and surrounded them from all sides. After the car stopped, several young men dressed in gold and silver came out one after another. Want to run? I'm afraid it's too late. Chapter 18, Killing and Destroying the Heart. 7 or 8 supercars were parked in all directions with Li Shan and his party as the center, blocking the way of Li Shan and his party. Several young men in gold and silver jewelry got out of the car one after another. They were obviously the second generation of rich people from some big family or some large enterprise. After getting off the car, they all came to one of them, and that person was dressed completely differently from the other rich second generations. He was not like other people who wore various famous brands, big gold chains and big gold watches. Instead, he wore a very strange taekwondo uniform. This kind of clothes would be very common in a taekwondo gym, but it seems a bit out of place when worn so blatantly. Add to that the large sunglasses on the man's face and his greasy hair that could easily make a mosquito slip away, and he looks even more weird. When Dashi and Lao Li saw the man in the taekwondo uniform, they looked like they saw a ghost. Their faces turned pale and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. The man in the taekwondo uniform looked Li Shan and the other two up and down and sneered with disdain. "Boy, are you Li Shan? It's probably too late to run away now, right?" Needless to say, Li Shan also knew that the man in taekwondo uniform was Shen Lian. When old Li saw that he and others were surrounded, he was so scared that he kept muttering as if he had lost his soul. "No way, aren't they over there in the dormitory? How come they found their way here so quickly?" Along with these luxury cars came a large group of students to join in the fun. Ever since this group of people blocked Li Shan at the dormitory just now, this group of students has started to gather together to join in the fun. After all, it is a new thing to see luxury cars in school. There are 7 of them, which is naturally enough to attract attention. Especially when they learned that it was the eldest son of the Shan family who was coming to sanction the current little internet celebrity Li Shan, they felt like they had caught some big news. At this moment, they would naturally chase the melon in the direction it went. In a short while, the road was completely blocked and no one could get through. At this moment, Li Shan and others were surrounded by several luxury cars, and it felt like they were in an octagonal cage. Faced with several beast-like dandies, Dashi and Lao Li were so scared that they almost wet their pants. Their legs kept shaking and their eyes were full of despair. At this moment, Shen Lian was holding a selfie stick with a mobile phone tied to it, and he was posing in some poses that he thought looked very handsome and said to the crowd inside, "Hello, dear audience friends. I, the president of the Shinlian Deep City Aiding Hanhan Association, specially started a live broadcast today to share with you the next exciting program. The young man in front of you is the rumored boyfriend who has been maliciously slandering our goddess Hanhan these days. Today, I will use my fist to tell everyone that anyone who dares to slander our Hanhan girls must die." It turns out that Shen Lian not only wanted to teach Li Shan a lesson, but also wanted to broadcast the video of Li Shan being beaten live to the outside world so that everyone could see it. This is undoubtedly the greatest insult to the abuser, but Shen Lian doesn't care about that. All he cares about is whether he has fun or not. At this moment, the number of viewers in the live broadcast room exploded and people cheered. "Oh, I've been annoyed with this guy for a long time. He even dared to slander our goddess Hanhan. This kind of person must be taught a lesson. Yes. I've been annoyed with this guy for a long time. Give him a good beating, and I'll send you a big rocket." "What's the big rocket?" "If you beat him up, I'll make you happy tonight. My address is XXXX. Seeing the atmosphere in the live broadcast room explode in an instant, and a female fan claiming that she wanted to give him pleasure, Master Shen became interested at that time. He made a gesture to his group of younger brothers, and one of them immediately came up to Dashi and Lao Li and spoke viciously. "If you 2 little bastards don't want to die, get out of the way and don't block Master Shen's way." Dashi and Lao Li were already scared silly, and when someone told them to get out, they couldn't wait to get out. But when they saw Li Shan behind them, they felt a little bit reluctant. She swallowed his saliva and said calmly, "Brother, this is all a misunderstanding. Is this okay? I'll let my brother apologize to everyone on the live broadcast, and you guys should just forgive him." Misunderstanding? What the hell is a misunderstanding? Is it necessary for a little brat like you to say something when Master Shan beats someone up? As he said this, the rich second generation raised his hand and was about to slap Darshi in the face. Just when the big happy face was only 3 or 5 centimeters in his hand, suddenly, the rich second generation felt his hand frozen in mid-air, unable to move. When I looked up, I saw a hand like an iron clamp holding my wrist. No matter how I struggled, I couldn't get free. Looking along his arm, the rich second generation was surprised to find that the person who grabbed his wrist was Li Shan. The rich second generation saw that he couldn't pull his hand out no matter what he did, and Li Shan held it tighter and tighter, causing waves of pain in his arm, which scared the rich second generation even more. "Kid, get me out of here right now, or I'll make you pay for it. Apologize to my friend." Li Shan's cold words seemed to freeze the air around them in an instant, and the rich second generation felt a chill all over his body. But how could he, who was so conceited, apologize to such a poor student? The rich second generation cursed without even thinking. "Damn it, you poor bastards are worthy of asking me to apologize to you? I are." Before the rich second generation could finish his words, he felt a crisp snapping sound on his arm. Immediately afterwards, unimaginable pain came from his wrist. As the saying goes, the fingers are connected to their heart, not to mention that this time it was the wrist that was broken. This rich second generation never expected that Li Shan actually broke the bones in his wrist. The intense pain made the rich second generation completely ignore his image and roll on the ground, covering his arm with his hands, and roaring like a pig being slaughtered. This conflict arose without warning and ended without warning. When Li Shan broke the bones of this rich second generation, many people were still puzzled. The scene was deathly quiet, and then suddenly screams were heard from the crowd, perhaps because of fear, but mostly because of excitement. Originally, everyone just wanted to watch the fun, no matter how big the incident. There was no conflict between the two sides just now, and it was very likely that the fight would not even break out and would be in vain. At this moment, Li Shan took the initiative to knock down the people brought by Shan Lian to the ground, which was undoubtedly a declaration of war against Shan Lian and others. The other party has declared war. If Shan Lian does not respond, where will Shan Lian, and even the entire Shansha group, keep their face in the future? The sudden change at this moment made Shan Lian confused, and he even shouted loudly in the live broadcast room. "Damn, it seems like the anchor boy beat up the people you brought with you. What are you waiting for, anchor? Go and hit him, or I won't use the rocket anymore. If you really don't want to go, don't expect me to give you ice and fire at night." Chapter 19. How come this kid is so powerful? The eye-catching scene was out of control at this moment. Shan Lian couldn't bear it anymore. He threw his phone to the rich second generation next to him and rolled up his sleeves and walked forward. Just when several other rich second generations wanted to come up to help, Shan Lian waved his hand to stop them. "Let me deal with these minions by myself. I want you to know that the chairman of the Shenzhen City Ding Hanhan Association is not just a boast." Shan Lian was seen rubbing his hands together, pulling up the car, and even jumping twice symbolically, and came in front of Li Shan in a very cool manner. The reason why Shan Lian was so confident that he wanted to deal with Li Shan personally was not only because he had extreme contempt for Li Shan, but more because he was confident in his own skills. Although Shan Lian was an uneducated and unskillful playboy, he had loved fighting since he was young, and he began to study Taekwondo at Tianqing Martial Arts School, the best Taekwondo school in the country. Perhaps it was due to his talent. Among his peers, Shan Lian was the best at learning Kung Fu. While others were still practicing kicking wooden boards and practicing their stances, Shan Lian had already started free fighting with his senior brothers who were several times bigger than him. It is precisely for this reason that Shan Lian has already obtained the black belt awarded by his master at an early stage. Therefore, Shan Lian can be said to be very confident in his skills. It can be said that a famous family produces talented students. Now Shan Lian's Kung Fu is the best among his peers, especially his signature side kick, which has broken the bones of countless people. So when facing Li Shan, Shan Lian was confident that he could knock him down within 3 moves. At this moment, when Shan Lian came to Li Shan, he didn't even look at Li Shan. In his eyes, Li Shan was just a disabled person who was about to become crippled and was not worthy of his attention at all. Kid, I'll give you one chance to choose a part you don't like. Do you want your arm or leg to be broken? Shen Lian's words ignited the whole audience. This arrogant remark undoubtedly revealed Shen Lian's arrogant and conceited temper. Shen Lian was enjoying the cheers of the people present, as if he was in a personal show of his own. Li Shan did not say anything about this, but pushed Daze and Lao Li aside with both hands. Seeing that Li Shan didn't say a word, Shen Lian thought that he was scared silly, so he sneered, then raised his leg and threw a signature side kick with the sound of his robes and bowlers being torn into the air. The kick was fast, accurate, fierce and vicious. Even people who don't know martial arts will be amazed by this extremely ferocious side kick. The crowd watching was screaming continuously. If this kick hit, even a 200-pound strong man would probably fly 3 to 5 meters away. No wonder Shen Lian was so confident that he could knock down Li Shan. In just a moment, Shen Lian's legs had reached Li Shan's head, only 3 or 5 centimeters away from Li Shan, but Li Shan still seemed to have not reacted, standing there stupidly, indifferent. Shen Lian sneered in his heart, "Humph, how boring, it's over before it even began." But in an instant, Shen Lian felt a black screen in front of his eyes, as if something was wrong. Before he could react, he felt his other leg suddenly hit hard. His whole body lost balance and he fell heavily to the ground, rolling like a dog. It was not until Shen Lian lay on the ground with pain all over his body that he realized that at that moment, Li Shan had appeared in front of him at a speed that was difficult for ordinary people to capture, and kicked him on the leg that he used to support his body. Shen Lian never expected that Li Shan, who looked frail, was actually a martial artist. I should never have underestimated the enemy just now. When everyone present saw this dramatic reversal, they all shut their mouths and stared at Li Shan with wide eyes. What happened just now? They really didn't see it clearly. Just when it seemed that Shen Lian was about to kick Li Shan away, suddenly, for some reason, Shen Lian fell to the ground, as if he had tripped himself. The comments in the live broadcast room all fell silent at the same time, as if the scene before them was really hard to accept. Shen Lian jumped up, rearranged the chess formation, and got ready. Boy, you are playing the pig to eat the tiger, but you won't be so lucky next time. With the experience just now, Shen Lian also knew that Li Shan was a martial artist, so he naturally should not underestimate the enemy. So this time he prepared himself again and chose his best combo kick to attack Li Shan. As a Taekwondo master, Shen Lian has mastered the lower 3 routes to perfection. His leg skills are so fast that no one can see any afterimage. This move was extremely fast, swift and confusing, making it difficult to judge which part of the body was being attacked. Shen Lian had used this trick to defeat several provincial champions, and he was confident that this trick would definitely make Li Shan panic. But what he never expected was that when facing his fierce series of kicks, Li Shan did not dodge, but instead kicked something like him. How is this possible? Shen Lian was greatly surprised, because he did not learn this series of kicks from others, but figured it out by himself. It was impossible that someone had stolen his skills. And this Li Shan could actually use the same moves as himself. What does this mean? This can only mean that Li Shan has grasped the essence of his moves just by taking a look at them, and can use them in actual combat. What kind of learning talent is this? It's too terrifying. Without any hesitation, Shen Lian immediately sped up, trying to surpass Li Shan in proficiency of the moves. But Li Shan was not panicked at all. As Shen Lian's speed increased, Li Shan's speed became even faster. Soon their legs collided. From the beginning, they were evenly matched, but Li Shan gradually gained the upper hand. In the end, Shen Lian couldn't keep up with Li Shan's speed at all. He was kicked and flew 3 to 5 meters away. He fell to the ground with a thud like a piece of shit and mud. At this moment, Shen Lian was lying on the ground and couldn't get up at all. When he was kicking against Li Shan just now, Li Shan's legs were like steel. When I kicked him, instead of shaking the opponent, I ended up hurting myself. Now I was lying on the ground, my legs were so swollen and painful that I couldn't get up at all. Everyone was even more shocked when they saw Shen Lian was kicked away by the opponent and fell to the ground. The live broadcast room was in an uproar, with everyone exclaiming in surprise. Fuck, what's going on? Isn't the anchor a martial artist? How did he get beaten like this by this kid? What the hell? This is too fast. Can you switch to a high-definition capture camera? I want to see what happened just now. Is he really Ding Han Han's husband? I think this guy is so handsome. Chapter 20, the eldest son of the Shen family knelt down. In less than 2 minutes, Shen Lian, who had been so arrogant just now, was knocked off the stage and fell to the ground, which instantly made the atmosphere in the venue explode. However, all the people who were cheering for Shen Lian just now turned to Li Shen's side. Shen Lian lay on the ground, looking at Li Shen with gritted teeth, wishing he could eat alive this guy who stole his limelight. But he had no strength in his legs, let alone fighting him for 300 rounds, even standing up was a problem. At this moment, several rich second generations standing by looked at Shen Lian, who had just boasted that he would defeat Li Shen in 3 rounds, but was defeated in less than 2 rounds. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do for a moment. Shen Lian looked at these guys staring at each other and shouted angrily. What are you still standing there for? Kill this guy for me. At this moment, this group of rich second generations suddenly woke up from their dreams and picked up the weapons they brought from the car and rushed towards Li Shen. All of a sudden, maces and machetes were used, which scared the onlookers. These things will draw blood at any moment, and it will be troublesome if someone dies. The whole scene was in chaos. Seeing several machetes chopping at Li Shen's face at the same time, Fatty and Old Li were terrified and covered their eyes and screamed. But in Li Shen's eyes, these deadly weapons that were as fast as lightning were as slow as a snail. This kind of attack would not only kill him, but would also make him lose if it could touch him. Li Shen's figure disappeared from the spot in an instant, and appeared in the crowd the next moment. The crowd's attacks missed, and before they could react, they felt countless punches hitting their faces and bodies. Li Shen shuttled through the crowd like lightning, causing screams wherever he went. In less than a minute, 7 or 8 rich second generations all fell to the ground, crying for their parents. At this moment the crowd was boiling again. This boy who was having an affair with Ding Hanhan was originally a thorn in everyone's side and an absolute nuisance. But as time went by, people gradually discovered that this man was simply a bug-level existence. He has amazing cooking skills, handsome looks, and is still so agile. Such a perfect man is a perfect match for the national goddess Ding Hanhan. In just a short while, many people began to speak for Li Shen. Wow, this guy is so handsome, only a man like him can be worthy of goddess Hanhan. Yes, I originally thought this was a smear campaign against our goddess Hanhan, but now it seems like this is a good thing that everyone is happy about. Yes, yes, yes. I'm already beginning to hope that he really is their husband of goddess Hanhan. The most miserable person at the moment is Shen Lian. Shen Lian, who had originally wanted to make a name for himself with this incident, not only did he not win everyone's applause and praise as he had imagined, but he was beaten into such a miserable state. The saddest thing is that I even started a live broadcast just to show off. This is good. The young master of Shen group deliberately caused trouble and was beaten up. If this gets out, where will I and my group's reputation be protected? But even if he wanted to resist, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't beat the other person, and his own brothers couldn't even last a minute. If he forced himself to fight with the other person, he would only end up embarrassing himself. As the saying goes, as long as the mountains remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. I'll make a strategic retreat, for now, and then go find a master in the martial arts gym to help me teach him a lesson. You're lucky this time, you won't be so lucky next time. After saying those harsh words, Shen Lian was about to stand up and run away, but unexpectedly he bumped into something with a bang. His legs went weak and he almost sat down again. Shen Lian raised his head and looked in astonishment at Li Shen, who had appeared in front of him at some point. At this moment, the violent aura emanating from Li Shen's body made Shen Lian shiver uncontrollably. Somehow, even though Li Shen had no expression on his face, Shen Lian always felt a strong sense of fear lingering in his heart. Li Shen standing in front of him was like a devil from hell waving at him. Shen Lianqiang roared loudly and tremblingly with fear. You, what do you want to do? Let me tell you. Don't be too ruthless. I am the eldest son of the Shen family. If you offend me, be careful or my father will make all of you take the family property. Hey hey. Before Shen Lian could finish his words, Li Shen grabbed Shen Lian's collar like a chicken and pressed him in front of Da Shi and Lao Li. Da Shi and Lao Li were both dumbfounded at this moment. Li Shen's skills just now had completely refreshed the two people's 3 views. Before they could recover from the shock, Shen Lian was suddenly dragged in front of him by Li Shen, which frightened them even more. Li Shen, what are you going to do? Li Shen glared at Shen Lian and then spoke in a cold tone. Shen Lian, I don't care which family you belong to. Your people just moved my people. Now you must apologize to my brother. What? When Shin Lian heard that Li Shin wanted him to apologize to such a poor student, he became unhappy on the spot. Not to mention that there are so many people watching me now, not to mention that I am doing a live broadcast. If I apologize, wouldn't it be extremely embarrassing? Seeing Shin Lian hesitate, Li Shin punched the brick next to him. Li Shin punched the solid brick into pieces, just like hitting foam. If this brick had not just fallen from the wall next to it, everyone would have thought it was a prop. Li Shin glanced at Shin Lian's face with cold eyes again. Shin Lian knew that this was no longer a warning, it was a threat. If I don't apologize, I'm afraid the next piece of debris will be more than just a brick. It just so happened that the scene of Li Shin hitting the bricks was too horrifying, or maybe it was because Li Shin kicked too hard. This time Shin Lian's legs went soft, and he actually fell to his knees in front of the three of them with a thud. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Who is this person? Shin Lian, the eldest son of the Shin group, actually knelt down before three unknown students. Fuck, what's going on? Isn't this the eldest son of the Shin family? How could he? Oh my god, the internet celebrity won the fight between the rich second generation and the internet celebrity. How is this possible? I must be still asleep. Oh my god, he is indeed Ding Hanhan's rumored husband. He is so strong. He is so strong. Who wouldn't love such a domineering man? At this moment, Dashi and Lao Li were both scared silly, with sweat pouring down their foreheads. Even Shin Lian himself did not expect that he would do such a thing. Shin Lian knelt on the ground with a blank mind, as if he had lost his soul. Chapter 21 I'm looking for Zhang Qinder. Hey, where's Li Shin? Is Li Shin okay? Huh? Pei Shuan, eh? Why are you here? The fight they had just had is over and it's over. What? What about Li Shin? How was he beaten? Which hospital did he go to? No, he's fine, but many of Mr. Shin's group went to their hospital. When Li Shin led the other two people back, Lao Li and Erxi were still unable to recover from the incident. Da Shi, who was still in shock, complained while covering his heart. Li Shin, you really scared me just now. Shin Lian knelt down just now. Was it you who did it? Li Shin waved his hand lightly and smiled. No way, I don't have that kind of ability to make Master Shin kneel down for you. He did it voluntarily. Come on, stop talking to me. I clearly saw you holding a broken brick in your hand and dropping Shin Lian's leg. Li Shin smiled faintly and did not respond to Dashi's words. At this moment, old Li's face turned pale, as if what had just happened had left a big shadow on him. Seeing that old Li was sweating, Dashi patted old Li on the shoulder and comforted him. Okay, old Li is still so timid. Although Shin Lian is indeed awesome, our Li Shin is even more awesome. He can make such a young man kneel down for us. Now I think about it and I feel happy. At this time, Lao Li raised his head and said nervously. Dashi, don't be so happy. You only know that he knelt down for us, but aren't you worried that he will retaliate against us? Hearing this, Dashi couldn't help but lower his head. Indeed, Shin Lian looked quite embarrassed today, but that didn't mean he would remain embarrassed like this in the future. How could a vengeful young man like this let himself go easily after being humiliated in public? But as the saying goes, blessing comes with luck, and disaster cannot be avoided. Some things are better left to nature. After comforting himself, Dashi raised his head and explained in a nonsensical but angry manner. Old Li, what do you have to be afraid of? Li Shin is such a good fighter. Even if he sends someone else, they will definitely not be Li Shin's opponent. That's not certain. Do you know who Shin Lian's master is? His Zhang Qinder, the owner of Qinqing Martial Arts School. When he heard the three words, Zhang Qinder, Dashi's face turned pale, as if he had seen a ghost. Their conversation attracted Li Shin's attention, and Li Shin turned around and asked. Who is Zhang Qinder? Is he very powerful? He's not really that great, he's ridiculously great. At this time, Dashi waved his hand and began to explain to Li Shin. This Zhang Qinder is incredible. He won the National Taekwondo Championship right after his debut. He established the Qinqing Martial Arts School the following year. He had originally planned to earn a living by recruiting apprentices, but he never expected that some people thought that his championship was too exaggerated and pretended to be dissatisfied. To vent his anger, Zhang Qinder won the national taekwondo competition for 5 consecutive years and successfully won the championship. At this moment, he is a legendary figure in our Xincheng martial arts world. Hearing this, Li Shen's eyes lit up and he was extremely happy. Li Shen was a little depressed when he came back just now. The reason was that the battle just now was too fast. He didn't know whether the system was not satisfied or he didn't use his martial arts to the limit. In short, the system did not upgrade his Martial Arts Master LV1 to Martial Arts Master LV2. Zhang Qinder suddenly appears at this moment, and he sounds like a tough guy. If I can fight him once, maybe my system can be upgraded. He was overjoyed at the moment, and kept sighing and shaking his head, as if he was complaining about the injustice of the world. Oh, how did we get into trouble with this group of people? What should we do if Zhang Qinder really comes to cause trouble for them? Just when Lao Li and Dashi were both feeling dejected, Li Shen suddenly said, "Which of you two can lead me to Qinxing Martial Arts School?" What? When Dashi and Lao Li heard this, they looked up with a look of disbelief on their faces. When people heard that Qinxing Martial Arts School was looking for trouble with them, they all tried their best to escape. Why did Li Shen volunteer to get killed? Li Shen, don't mess around. If you don't handle this thing properly, someone could die. You should find an opportunity to go out for a while and stay out of the spotlight. Hearing Dashi's words, Li Shen shook his head and lied. I don't want to challenge him, I just want to pay a visit to this legendary figure. Lao Li and Dashi looked at each other, thought for a while, then clapped their thighs and said, "Yes, Li Shen, you are really a genius. Now we should take the initiative to apologize to them. Then they won't do anything to us. This is a good idea." Li Shen nodded quickly after hearing this. Yes, I just plan to go and apologize to them. Dashi and Lao Li suddenly understood and kept praising Li Shen for his smart thinking at the critical moment. So the three of them did not dare to hesitate and immediately took a taxi to Qinxing Martial Arts School when they arrived at the school. Qinxing Martial Arts School was not too far from the school, and the three of them arrived in a 20-minute drive. As soon as they got off the car, the three were deeply attracted by the plaque in front of the door that read, "Number 1 in the world." The overall building is in Chinese style, with carved beams and painted rafters. The dragons and phoenixes on the pillars on both sides are lifelike. The large golden characters on the plaque are really eye-catching. You can tell at a glance that this place should not be underestimated. The three of them looked at each other and walked into the door at the same time. As soon as I entered, I saw a large training ground. At this moment, more than 30 disciples were receiving training from a coach in an orderly manner on the training ground. Under the guidance of the coach, every punch and kick of this group of people was as powerful as a whirlwind. Unfortunately, this coach was not Zhang Qinder that Li Shen and others were looking for, but one of Zhang Qinder's disciples, Lin Qing. He was overjoyed at this moment, and brought Li Shen and the other person to Lin Qing and asked him, "Master, may I ask where Master Zhang Qinder is now? We are here to visit him." Hearing that Li Shen and others were looking for Zhang Qinder, Lin Qing looked the three of them up and down and said lightly, "My master is not here. If you want to sign up for the martial arts school, just go to the front desk and apply." Lin Qing's cold words made Dashi a little frightened, and he dared not say anything else. It was old Li who continued to step forward and speak. "Master Lin, you misunderstood. We are not here to become your disciples. We have something to discuss with Master Zhang. Please give us some convenience, I said the master is not here. Do you have donkey hair in your ears? If you don't want to sign up for property management, get out now and don't delay our training." Chapter 22. He gave too much. Lin Qing's disdainful roar directly ignited the anger in the hearts of Li Shen and the other two. But the other party was tall and strong, with a sturdy build, and neither Lao Li nor Dashi dared to provoke him. Instead, it was Li Shen who took the initiative to step forward and responded coldly. "What if I have to meet Zhang Qinder today?" What do you mean, kid?" When Lin Qing heard what Li Shen said, he immediately widened his eyes into copper bells, clenched his fists until they creaked, and walked towards Li Shen. The apprentices who had just been training in an orderly manner stopped what they were doing and cast ferocious eyes at Li Shen, as if they would come up and eat Li Shen alive at any time. This frightened old Li and Dashi. Dashi thought to himself, why is Li Shen so foul-mouthed? He came here to apologize and be someone's grandson, yet he dares to be so arrogant. So Dashi hurried to Lin Qing and explained. "Master Lin, this is all a misunderstanding. My brother didn't mean that. We came to Master Zhang for something important, not to cause trouble. Originally, Lin Qing had made up his mind that he would teach this ignorant brat a lesson today no matter what. But after Dash's persuasion, Lin Qing barely suppressed his temper, glared at Li Shan coldly, and then asked. You said you had something important to discuss with my master, so why don't you tell me what it is? Dashi breathed a sigh of relief and was about to say that the three people came to beg for mercy, but unexpectedly, Li Shan spoke first. Nothing, I just want to challenge Zhang Qinder and see how powerful he is. Snap. Li Shan's words were like a bolt from the blue, hitting Da Shi and Lao Li hard in the heart. Both of them were stunned, staring at Li Shan in amazement and unable to say a word. I just managed to stabilize the situation, but Li Shan was so ignorant of his own life that he even dared to provoke him. There are at least 30 people in this martial arts school. Not to mention whether Master Zhang Qinder is there or not, with so many people coming together to beat them up, the three of them will definitely be beaten black and blue. They will be in big trouble. At this moment, Lao Li and Da Shi were regretting their lives so much. If they had known that Li Shan would be like this when he came to Qinqing Martial Arts School, they would never have followed Li Shan even if they were beaten to death. Okay, so you are here to challenge me. Then let me see how strong you are. At this moment, Lin Qing's eyes were wide open with anger. Li Shan's words were clearly a provocation. If they did not accept the challenge, wouldn't it make Qinqing Martial Arts School appear too cowardly? Lin Qing roared and kicked Li Shan in the face. At this moment, in the cabinet room of Qinqing Martial Arts School, Zhang Qinder stood by the window, looking out. This is the room that Zhang Qinder specially set aside for himself to practice martial arts and rest. Behind the large floor-to-ceiling windows is not a bustling city, but a quiet open space. At this moment, the breeze blows, and the green grass sways, which makes people feel peaceful. However, the bursts of crying and shouting coming from behind made Zhang Qinder frown and unable to calm down. Master, you have to help me. Your apprentice was beaten up. How can a master ignore this matter? It turned out that the person shouting loudly in the room was none other than Shen Lian, who had just been beaten up by Li Shan. This time, Shen Lian knelt behind Zhang Qinder, crying and snotting, pretending to be as pitiful as possible, and kept begging Zhang Qinder to teach Li Shan a lesson. But Zhang Qinder frowned and said nothing. It was not until he heard the words, "How can a master not care about this matter?" that Zhang Qinder turned around and scolded him fiercely. Traitor, how dare you say that? You started a live broadcast to stir up trouble, and got beaten up because you didn't learn the skills well. How dare you come to me to avenge you? Aren't you ashamed? Shen Lian's face turned red due to the scolding, and he stammered. I had no choice but to go back and cause trouble for him. Who made him do the wrong first? Is it wrong first? Is it wrong to have a scandal with a female star? Can you think of anything else besides women all day long? Shen Lian, who was scolded by his master, now wished he could find a place to hide in. Zhang Qinder looked at Shen Lian coldly. If his Qinqing Martial Arts School was not also a subsidiary of the Shen Group, he would have already dealt with this bastard with his big-eared thunder son. Seeing that his master refused to come out no matter what, Shen Lian sighed helplessly. Just as he was about to leave, Zhang Qinder suddenly snorted and said, "But then again, no matter what, it is wrong for a master to do nothing when his apprentice is beaten. But this is not so easy to deal with. It's a bit unreasonable for me, a veteran in the martial arts world, to fight a little kid in a duel, right? Is there any chance of a turnaround?" When Shen Lian heard this, he immediately realized that his master seemed to want to help him. But he was hesitating. What was he hesitating about? So Shen Lian came to the master and asked tentatively, "Master, as long as this matter is not spread out, no one will know about it, right?" Zhang Qinder narrowed his eyes, snorted and laughed. "But there is no impenetrable wall in this world. I am afraid that if the news leaks out, my Qinqing Martial Arts School will not be able to recruit any disciples. What will I eat and drink in the future?" It was not until this moment that Shen Lian finally realized that his master had been going around in circles with him, and it all came down to money. What his master meant at this moment was that if he wanted him to teach Li Shan a lesson on his behalf, he had to pay him. Although Shen Lian cursed Zhang Qinder thousands of times in his heart for his greedy habit, Shen Lian lacked everything except money. Things that can be solved with money are not a problem for Shen Lian. So Shen Lian casually took out a bank card from his pocket, handed it to Zhang Qinder and said with a smile, "Master, I haven't come to honor you for a long time. There is 1 million in this card. You can spend it first. If it's not enough, you can ask me for more. What do you think? When Zhang Qinder heard that there was 1 million in the card, his eyes lit up. Although it was only for a moment, it was clearly seen by Shen Lian. Shen Lian cursed the old money grubber in his heart, but he still didn't dare to change his expression. Zhang Qinder put away the card, nodded thoughtfully, stood up, and walked out the door with his hands behind his back. I've thought about it, my apprentice's business is my business. How can I, as a master, ignore the fact that my apprentice got beaten? Let's go. Let's go meet that boy. When Shen Lian heard this, he was so happy that he followed Zhang Qinder quickly. However, when the two walked out of the cabinet and came to the training ground in front of the gate, they were deeply shocked by the scene in front of them. Chapter 23, Worthy of being the best in the country. The disciples who were originally training in an orderly manner were now lying in a mess on the training ground crying for their parents. The entire martial arts gym was in a mess. Even the coach, Lin Qing, was lying on the ground unconscious. There were only 3 young men in the entire martial arts hall who could stand up. When Zhang Qinder saw this scene, he was shocked and turned his gaze to the 3 young men. There were 2 young men with pale faces, hiding in the corner and trembling. It was obvious that this fight had nothing to do with them. When he looked at the other young man again, he had a calm expression and deep eyes. Although he did not make a move, his whole body was filled with a natural aura of dominance, which was really chilling. Just as Zhang Qinder's eyes were fixed on Li Shen, Shen Lian suddenly exclaimed, "Master, it's him! It's him! This guy is the one who hurt me. You must avenge me. Oh! It's him!" Upon learning that the young man who came to challenge Shen Lian was Li Shen, who had injured Shen Lian, Zhang Qinder's eyes were full of interest. Originally, Zhang Qinder thought that this person was just an ordinary person who was proficient in martial arts. He was able to beat Shen Lian just because he was better trained than Shen Lian. But now it seems that the fact that he dared to come to Qinqing Martial Arts School alone to challenge the school and was able to defeat all of his own disciples is enough to prove that this person not only has extraordinary courage, but also has strong means. After all, even his own disciple Lin Qing was no match for the other party, so this was obviously a master. Thinking of this, Zhang Qinder couldn't hide the excitement on his face. For many years, I haven't met anyone who can fight. Although the young man in front of him was not very old, his skills were enough to make Zhang Qinder itchy. At this moment, Zhang Qinder took 2 steps forward, came in front of Li Shen, and asked with a sneer, "Are you Li Shen?" Yes, you have injured my beloved disciple and now you come to challenge me in my martial arts school. You must not be a good person." Li Shen turned around, looked up and down at Zhang Qinder, and said lightly, "Could it be that you are Zhang Qinder?" Zhang Qinder seemed very surprised to see Li Shen calling him by his full name. "Little kid, it's not a bad thing for young people to be proud, but if they are too proud, they are conceited. As a junior in the martial arts world, shouldn't we give some respectful titles to our elders?" Li Shen raised his hand politely and bowed. "Master Zhang, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to challenge your gym. I just want to learn martial arts from you." What Li Shen said was indeed correct. He came to Qinqing Dojo just to find a master to train with and upgrade his system level by 1 level. However, he did not expect that the apprentice in Qinqing Dojo would be so violent. As soon as I made my intentions known, they started fighting with me. I had no choice but to knock them all down. But when these words fell into Zhang Qinder's ears, they took on a different meaning. Zhang Qinder frowned and thought to himself, "Okay, this kid is too arrogant. Isn't this just to say that the apprentices in my martial arts school are not enough for him to play with? You want to fight with the real boss? Okay, since you are so arrogant, don't blame me for being ruthless. Okay, kid, I like arrogant young people like you, but arrogance requires capital. Let me see if you have the capital." As soon as Zhang Qinder finished speaking, he raised his foot and attacked Li Shen in the face. This signature side kick looked almost the same as Shen Lian's, but its strength, speed, and trickiness far surpassed Shen Lian's by several levels. Shen Lian was overjoyed when he saw Zhang Qinder take action. "Li Shen, you dare to provoke me and embarrass me, this time I will make sure you die without a burial place. Wait for the old man named Zhang to knock you down, and I will take advantage of the chaos to tear all the tendons in your hands and feet. I want to see how you can still yell at me after you become a cripple." It has to be said that Zhang Qinder is indeed several degrees stronger than the other disciples. The kick was so fast and fierce that even Li Shan did not dare to directly counterattack the opponent's lower three roots as he did before against Shen Lian. Instead, he anxiously rolled backwards and barely avoided the fierce attack. Although Li Shan's dodging looked a little awkward, only Zhang Qiander himself knew how incredible this scene was. You know, this kick of his has won him 6 consecutive championships. Even the top Taekwondo masters can only barely use their bodies to withstand his kicks. So far, Li Shan is the first one who can dodge this move. However, although Li Shan was able to dodge the kick, it does not mean that Zhang Qiander is afraid of Li Shan. Because through this kick, Zhang Qiander had roughly judged how fast Li Shan's reaction was. For people who practice martial arts, reaction time is a crucial factor in determining the outcome of a battle. If your reaction is not quick enough, or even just the slightest hesitation, you will fail. At this moment, Zhang Qiander judged that the opponent's reaction ability was far inferior to his own. As long as he could continue to suppress the opponent, he would always find the opponent's floor. Zhang Qiander's whip kick was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he had kicked 7 or 8 times. Li Shan didn't dare to be careless and hurriedly dodged and blocked. However, Zhang Qiander's leg skills were indeed amazing. Although the kicks that Li Shan blocked with his arms did not cause fatal injuries, they did make his entire arm numb. Li Shan knew that he must find an opportunity to turn defense into offense, otherwise if he continued like this, he would definitely be defeated. Just like this, in the duel between the two sides, one was suppressing fiercely while the other was frantically looking for opportunities. The two were as fast as lightning, and the people around them were dazzled and felt dizzy. Especially Dashi and Lao Li, both of them were worried about Li Shan. Because from the beginning of the battle until now, although the two have been fighting back and forth, it is visibly that Li Shan is being suppressed by Zhang Qiander. After all, Zhang Qiander is a national champion, how could he be so easy to deal with? During the long fight between the two, Li Shan suddenly found a gap. At this moment, there was a gap on Zhang Qian's chest. Li Shan knew that this was his chance. So he gathered all his strength and punched the opponent in the chest. But Li Shan never expected that this gap was deliberately left exposed by Zhang Qiander. Seeing Li Shan's punch, Zhang Qian sneered, and moved his hands to his chest, trying to clamp Li Shan's arms, and then he kicked Li Shan to the ground with a whip kick. When Li Shan realized that this was a trap, it was too late to stop. The inertia of his body had already pushed him forward uncontrollably. At the critical moment, a voice suddenly came from the system. Mission completed. Martial Arts Master System LV1 has been upgraded to LV2. Chapter 24 Dragon 4 arrives. Seeing that Li Shan had no way to escape, Zhang Qiander sneered in his heart. It seems that the old ones are still the wisest. A kid is still a kid after all, but... Damn it! Just when Zhang Qiander was secretly laughing at Li Shan's poor martial arts skills, he never expected that Li Shan's fist would hit with such force. He actually knocked him flying. Zhang Qiander had planned this punch for a long time. He had been testing Li Shan's limit of strength from the very beginning, and only used this move after he was sure that he could fully withstand the force. However, he did not expect that Li Shan's strength suddenly increased several times, even dozens of times, and his punch hit his chest like a big hammer, almost smashing his body apart. Zhang Qiander was knocked flying 3 to 5 meters away. Although he managed to keep his body steady, the fishy and sweet taste in his throat still told him that he could not fight anymore. If he continued, he would probably die. Even Li Shan himself didn't expect that his punch could have such an effect. Just after the system told him that he had upgraded, Li Shan felt full of strength. In an instant, everything around him slowed down a lot in his eyes. Even Zhang Qiander, who was as fast as lightning, seemed as slow as a snail in his eyes. His punch landed on Zhang Qiander with extraordinary ease. After knocking Zhang Qiander out, Li Shan did not pursue him. He did not come here to challenge him. Now that the system has been upgraded, there is no need for him to continue fighting. So Li Shan bowed again and spoke politely. Master Zhang is indeed very skilled. Although he is old, his punches are powerful and unstoppable. I really admire him. Let's stop here today. If you are interested in fighting again in the future, I will take my leave now. Zhang Qiander stood up with difficulty, said nothing, just nodded lightly, and stretched out his hand to signal Li Shan to go ahead. After knowing that Li Shan had left with Dashi and Lao Li, Shen Lian came to Zhang Qiander reluctantly and blamed him. Master, what are you doing? You've already taken the money, why don't you beat him up? You beat him so hard just now, and you're not going to fight back after just one blow. Zhang Qinder glared at Shen Lian fiercely, as if saying, "You know shit, he almost beat me to death." Just as Zhang Qinder was about to speak, 2 lines of blood flowed out of his mouth and he staggered to the ground. Shen Lian was terrified when he saw this, and he quickly dialed 120 to call an ambulance. On their way back, Dashi and Lao Li looked at Li Shen in shock. Dashi covered his fat chest and blamed him resentfully. "Oh my god, Li Shen, you really scared me just now. We agreed to apologize, but why did you really kick me out? Now you know how powerful Master Zhang is, right? Luckily nothing happened today and Master Zhang let you go. Otherwise, none of us 3 would have come back alive." Hearing Daishi's reproach, Li Shen just smiled faintly. "Judging from the look of Zhang Qinder, if he still insists on fighting with me, I'm afraid he will be the one to be embarrassed." By stopping, I was, to some extent, giving this old senior a last bit of face. Just as the 3 were walking back, Li Shen suddenly felt danger behind him. Without time to think, Li Shen hurriedly pressed Daishi and Lao Li's bodies down. Whoosh, pop. "Oh my god. Li Shen, what the hell did you do to me? You almost broke my waist." Dashi stood up and supported himself. His old waist, which was almost broken by Li Shen just now, kept complaining. At this moment, old Li was the first to discover the broken brick in front of him and exclaimed, "Damn it! Which grandson threw a black brick?" He was overjoyed when Lao Li shouted at him. He then realized that a brick had just hit his head. If Li Shen hadn't held him down in time, he would have been hit on the head by now. "Damn it, which grandson even threw a black brick? Come out. I'll kill you." She was furious. It was not until then that the 3 of them noticed that there was a fat man with a pig head standing behind them. It took Li Shen and the other 2 a while to figure out that this person was none other than the president of the student union, Bai Yundao. Seeing Bai Yundao become like this, Dashi and Lao Li were shocked, but they could not hide the laughter in their hearts. They had to cover their mouths, suppress their laughter, and look at each other. But Li Shen laughed out loud without any concealment. "Who did I think it was? It turned out to be President Bai. Why? His face is so swollen and it hasn't gone down yet." Hearing Li Shen's ridicule, Bai Yundao was so angry that smoke came out of his forehead and his lungs were about to explode. "My face is so swollen, isn't it all because of Li Shen in front of me?" Sure enough, the person who threw the black brick was none other than Bai Yundao. But he didn't expect that Li Shen seemed to have eyes on the back of his head and his reaction was so fast that he missed the target. But soon Bai Yundao returned to his usual ferocious appearance and pointed at Li Shen and shouted, "Damn it, kid, we haven't settled the score from last time yet, so we have to settle it today, right?" Hearing Bai Yundao say this, Li Shen spread his hands nonchalantly. "If you hadn't told me, I would have almost forgotten that we do have some unfinished business. You were the one who posted my marriage certificate online, right? If I can't get an explanation out of you today, I'm afraid I won't let you off so easily." Li Shen said this with deliberate emphasis on the 3 words, "let you go," and waved his fist at Bai Yundao. Seeing this, the wound on Bai Yundao's face began to ache again, and he turned pale with fright. Beads of sweat the size of beans kept oozing out of his forehead, and he even lacked confidence when he spoke. "HMPH, kid, don't think you're invincible just because you can fight. Let me tell you, I came here well prepared. Just wait for death." As soon as Li Yundao finished speaking, he whistled to the side. There was a loud bang and crowds of people began to pour in from both sides of the intersection. It was obvious from the way they were dressed that they were not good people. This is exactly the case. At this moment, a path was formed between the 2 teams, and a man with scars on his face walked out. I saw that the man was holding a black pistol in his hand, and the noise just now was made by this gun. This man's name is Long Sai, and he is a well-known local gang leader. It can be said that the entire southern district of Shenzhen is under the charge of Long Sai. Seeing Long Sai coming out, Li Yundao hurriedly came to Long Sai like a little pug, nodding and bowing and said, "Fourth Master, you are finally here. Thank you for your help today. This guy is the one I mentioned to you before." Longzi took off his sunglasses and didn't even look at Li Shen. Instead, he turned around and spoke coldly to Bai Yundao. Chapter 25. I bet you dare not shoot. "Xiao Bai, I came here today because your brother used to be my younger brother. But my brothers all need to eat. Is your stuff ready?" Seeing Long Sai rubbing his 2 fingers back and forth, Bai Yundao quickly handed the black plastic bag he was holding behind him to Long Sai. Long Sai opened it and saw several stacks of red banknotes inside. He nodded contentedly and threw them into the hands of one of his younger brothers. Then he rolled up his sleeves and came to Li Shan. Boy, don't blame me for bullying you. What does I want to do to you today? But there is no other way. You beat up my brother and made him look like that. We have to find a way to reconcile, right? When Long Sai said this, he kept swinging a sharp knife in his hand. He looked like a villain in a TV drama. This frightened Lao Li and Fatty. They were both wondering what had happened today. Was it because of a bad luck? Why did bad things keep happening one after another? Although both Lao Li and Daze were shocked, Li Shan did not show too much panic. But what made Li Shan feel something was wrong was that this time the system did not assign him any tasks for the first time. Originally, Li Shan thought that this system was passive. Only when he faced something would the system be assigned to him, allowing him to solve the problem and get rewards. But this time the incident happened to me, and the system seemed to be mute. It seems that the system's task distribution mechanism needs to be studied. However, it doesn't matter whether it is a system or not now, the current problems still need to be solved. Hearing Long Sai's words, Li Shan said lightly. Oh? Then tell me how to mediate this matter. It's easy to mediate. You beat my brother like that, so you can just cut off a finger and I'll be done with you. Then we'll be even, okay? When Long Sai said this, his tone was so calm, as if he was bargaining in the vegetable market. But when Daze and Lao Li heard it, it sounded like the evil spirits from hell whispering in their ears. The two were so frightened that their livers were trembling. My God, how could he make such a horrible thing as cutting off fingers sound like a joke? When Li Shan heard this, he sneered. What if I don't want to chop off my fingers? Is there any other way to mediate? As soon as Li Shan finished speaking, Long Sai's originally kind expression suddenly became extremely ferocious, revealing his ferocious appearance. He raised the gun in his hand, pointed it at Li Shan, and spoke in an extremely cold tone. Kid, I've been in the underworld for so many years, and no one has ever dared to bargain with me. Today you either chop off your fingers obediently, or I'll do it for you and chop off your fingers. Everyone could see that Long Sai had no intention of joking and this black pistol was not a toy gun. No matter how strong Li Shan is, no one can withstand two golden peanuts. If the other party's hand shakes at this moment, Li Shan's life will be completely gone. If it were an ordinary person, he would be scared to death after seeing this scene. But no one knew what happened to Li Shan this time. Maybe it was because he was too confident in his skills, or maybe he was completely scared. Li Shan, who was pointed at by a pitch-black gun, did not show any panic, but was extremely calm. At this moment, it was Bai Yundao who couldn't stand it anymore. He really wanted to punish Li Shan, so he spent a lot of money to invite Long Sai and others. But I have never thought of killing Li Shan. If Long Sai really fired the gun, he would become an accomplice. So Bai Yundao quickly came to Long Sai and said, Fourth Master, calm down. Calm down, let's just chop off one of his fingers, okay? Don't let anyone get killed. Get lost. Do you have the right to speak here? Long Sai kicked Bai Yundao to the ground with no mercy on his face. Although Bai Yundao could be considered a financial sponsor, for Long Sai, Li Shan's behavior at this moment was already provocative. I have been a powerful figure for so many years, but have I ever seen anyone dare to show off to me? At this moment, Dashi and Lao Li hurried to Li Shan and asked Li Shan to beg for mercy from Long Sai. But Li Shan was so bold that he ignored what Lao Li and Dashi said. Instead, he took Long Sai's hand and put the gun to his own forehead. Seeing this scene, everyone was terrified. What's going on? Does this guy want to die? Not only did he provoke Long Sai, but he also dared to put Long Sai's gun against his forehead, fearing that Long Sai could not kill him. Long Sai was also confused. He had been in the underworld for more than 20 years. He had seen all kinds of ruthless people, but he had never seen such a desperate person. What happened to Li Shan? Does he really not want to live? No. Li Shan not only wants to live, but also wants to live a long life. The reason for this action was that Li Shan was surprised to find that his danger warning had not been triggered since the moment Long Sai raised the gun. It stands to reason that in such an obviously dangerous situation, there is no reason for one to fail to take the risk. Then the only reasonable explanation is that Long Sai doesn't know how to shoot, or that Long Sai has no way to shoot. That's why Li Shan was so brazen as to do such a bold thing. After a brief moment of shock, Long Sai came to his senses and that ferocious expression appeared on his face again. Although he had never seen someone as reckless as Li Shan, it did not mean that he would let him go because of Li Shan's bold behavior. In the bloody world of Young and Dangerous, the only most important thing is to stay alive, and Li Shan's behavior is undoubtedly giving away his life in vain. At this moment, Long Sai sneered. Okay, kid, I admire your courage, but I want to tell you that your behavior is too stupid. If you put your life in the hands of the other party, you will lose your life in vain. Today I will teach you the last lesson of life, so that you will know how miserable the consequences will be if you make the wrong choice. At this moment, Long Sai's hand reached for the trigger. At this moment, time seemed to freeze, and Dashi and Lao Li screamed in fear. The instigators on the side cheered excitedly because of the next scene. Bai Yundao was so frightened that he felt a warm feeling unconsciously flowing down his trouser legs. Even Li Shan frowned at this moment, guessing in his heart. Could it be that the system really deceived me? In this situation, what reason would Long Sai have to put down his gun? At this moment, a voice suddenly shouted from outside the crowd. You're so brave, Sai, let me see if you dare to shoot. Chapter 26. Who is she? You're so brave, Sai, let me see if you dare to shoot. It was a woman's voice that said this. When the woman's voice came from outside the crowd, Long Sai seemed to realize something. He trembled all over, his hands shook with fear, and the black gun fell to the ground. All the gangsters immediately retreated to the sides to make way, and a woman walked in with a swagger. Li Shan and others were very surprised. Who on earth could scare Long Sai like this? When Li Shan looked towards the woman in the direction of the voice, he also had an expression as if he had seen a ghost. Why is it you? This woman is none other than Pei Shui Na, the campus beauty of Shenzhen University. At this moment, Pei Shui Na has changed from her usual sweet and lovely appearance, and has a chilling and cold temperament all over her body. Just a glance from those cold eyes made the gangsters tremble with fear and their pupils constricted. Long Sai even stuttered and couldn't utter a complete sentence. The assassin Pei Shui Na slowly walked up to Long Sai, picked up the pistol on the ground, put it back in Long Sai's hand, and even pointed the gun at her own forehead, and said lightly. Come on, Sai, don't be polite, shoot. Let me see how powerful the leader of the Phylong Hall in Shannan district is. At this moment, Long Sai was so frightened that his whole body was shaking. He quickly threw the gun aside and stammered for mercy. No. No. Miss, I have no ability. How could I dare to shoot? I am just your dog. I was wrong. Please forgive me. At this moment, Long Sai was so scared that his face turned pale, and cold sweat even wet his back, but Pei Shui Na still picked up the gun again and put it in Long Sai's hand, shouting with a fierce expression. I ordered you to shoot. Don't you like shooting? Come on. Shoot. Long Sai was so frightened by Pei Shui Na's words that he almost cried. He didn't dare to shoot. If this lady loses even a hair, the dragon head will probably eat her alive. Until this moment, Long Sai was a fool, and he finally understood why Li Shan dared to put the gun to his forehead so brazenly. It's not that he is not afraid of death, it's just that his backing is too strong. How could I dare to offend this lady when I have anything to do with her? I really hit a wall today. In a hurry, Long Sai fell to his knees on the ground. Seeing Long Sai kneeling on the ground stammering and begging for mercy, Pei Shui Na slapped Long Sai in the face with her backhand. Do you know why I beat you? As the head of the Phylong Hall in Shannan district, you are not handling your official business properly. You actually accepted private money and caused a death in a place like this. Do you think you should be beaten? Pei Shui Na's slap was so crisp and loud that everyone was terrified. Li Shan and the other two were all confused. Who is this Pei Shui Na? Long Sai is the leader of the local gangsters, but when he saw Pei Shui Na, Long Sai didn't even dare to fart, and even acted like a frightened rabbit. But I've never heard of Pei Shui Na being the daughter of a big family. Could it be that she hid herself so well that no one noticed? After being slapped, Long Sai did not dare to get angry. Instead, he raised his hand and slapped himself on the face more than a dozen times. Miss, I was wrong. I neglected my duty and it was wrong. Miss, you hit me well. I'm punishing myself with a few slaps. After a series of slaps, Long Sai's face was red and swollen, with blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. It is enough to see that Long Sai doesn't dare to play at all. Seeing Long Sai's look, Pei Shui Na snorted coldly and said nothing more. Then Pei Xuan'er glanced at Bai Yundao beside her and said lightly, "Arsai, I trust you. I think you must have been deceived by someone if you made such a mistake today. In order to avoid making the same mistake again next time, you should know how to solve the problem this time, right?" Long immediately understood what he meant and looked fiercely at Bai Yundao standing beside him. Today's incident was all caused by Bai Yundao. If it weren't for this kid, why would I have offended such a big shot? At Long Sai's command, dozens of gangsters started punching and kicking the condom. For a moment, Bai Yuntao's screams echoed throughout the alley. Pei Xuan'er came in front of Li Xin and immediately changed her cold look to that sweet and lovely smile again. "Okay, Li Xin, you are not allowed to tell anyone about what happened today." Li Xin nodded woodenly and then asked, "Pei Xuan'er, why are they so afraid of you? Who are you?" Pei Xuan'er did not directly answer Li Xin's question, but accused. "Why are you still calling me Pei Xuan'er? Pei Xuan'er, I saved your life today, you have to be closer to me, just call me Xiao Xue from now on. Also, next time you run into these gangsters, just mention my name. They won't dare to do anything to you. Okay, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. See you later." Just when Li Xin wanted to ask something, Pei Xuan'er had already left without looking back. It is said that Bai Yuntao's screams lasted from noon to evening that afternoon. Since that day, Bai Yundao has not appeared in school for a long time. It is said that he was hospitalized, and no one knows what exactly happened. Back in the dormitory, Li Xin lay on the bed, unable to get today's events out of his mind. Who exactly is this Pei Xuan'er? Why was Long Sai so scared when he saw her? Why would she take the initiative to save herself? What was her purpose in approaching me? Just when Li Xin was puzzled, daze on the side suddenly exclaimed, "Oh my god, Li Xin, something big has happened. Something big has happened. Goddess Han is coming to our school to perform a concert next week. This is a big deal. Oh, you just came to the school to sing a song. What's so good about a song sung by a woman?" Li Xin was lying on the bed, his mind full of thoughts about Pei Xuan'er, and he didn't care at all about Ding Han coming to sing. At this time, daze was leaning on the bed and said excitedly, "Li Xin, your reaction is not right. That's your wife. Your wife came to sing at school. Aren't you excited at all? Are you afraid to see her?" It was not until Dashi said this that Li Xin suddenly realized that Ding Han was coming to school. Holy shit, this is a really big deal. This scandal of mine has already caused enough of a stir, and I'm just worried about how to end it. Now that Ding Han has come to school, it means that I have a chance to catch Ding Han. At that time, we must go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. As long as we get a divorce, this matter will be completely over. At this moment, Dash's eyes suddenly became a little strange and he asked. Chapter 27. He has a bomb. Li Xin, your marriage certificate couldn't be fake, was it deliberately used to deceive us? Now that they are here, are you scared? After being reminded by Dashi, Lao Li and Shunzi also cast strange looks at Li Xin. Indeed, although Li Xin claimed that the marriage certificate was real, he had never produced any substantial evidence. Isn't Ding Han's visit to school this time the best opportunity for Li Xin to prove his identity? Just when everyone was eagerly expecting Li Xin to agree to reveal his identity at Ding Han's concert, Li Xin's head buzzed as the system sent him another task. Primary task, take a roommate to the hospital before the end of today. When he heard this task, Li Xin frowned. Why did this system suddenly assign me such a strange task? There are only 4 or 5 hours left until the end of the day, but why should I go to the hospital by myself now? Although going to the hospital is not a difficult task, if you want to take a roommate to the hospital, you have to find a reason, right? You can't just drag someone to the hospital and then transfer them back. Wouldn't that be too weird? Moreover, Li Xin discovered that there was a pattern in every task assigned by this system, that is, the task would correspond to a certain event. This time I was asked to go to the hospital. Could it be that something was waiting for me there? Just when Li Xin was hesitating about finding a reason to take his roommate to the hospital, suddenly, there was a muffled thud beside the bed, followed by Dash's miserable cry. Just when daze, who was clinging to Li Xin's bed, was about to complain that Li Xin was a coward, he lost his grip and fell off the bed with a plop. The chin hit the table next to it exactly. At this moment, Dashi was rolling on the ground groaning in pain. Li Xin stared at all this in front of him in amazement, thinking to himself, I'm so happy. You are really my good brother. I didn't expect that you would stand up and help me at this time. I will remember you as my brother forever. When they arrived at the hospital, Darcy sat on the chair sadly. The young and pretty doctor in front of him looked at Darcy's chin and bandaged it with a half smile. The last thing the doctor on duty late at night wanted to see was a patient coming to their hospital, but Darcy's injuries were too funny. And after hearing the reason why Darcy was injured, the beautiful female doctor almost couldn't help laughing out loud. Although Darcy was injured, he had a beautiful doctor bandaging his body, which was at least a treat for his eyes. He did not complain about anything. Instead, Leishan said while holding back a smile. Darcy, you deserve it. I usually let you gossip, but now you can't do it anymore, right? Darcy gave Leishan a loveless look, as if saying, go wherever you want and don't disturb me from looking at the beauty. I have to say that this female doctor is indeed pretty. She seems to be in her 20s or 30s, with long black hair that falls below her shoulders, delicate facial features, and a slender figure. She looks very well proportioned. No wonder Darcy was drooling at her. It's a pity that this kind of beauty is the stunning type. She looks beautiful at first glance, but after looking at her for a long time, she is just like that. If Leishan were asked to choose, he would prefer one that is pleasing to the eye. Take Ding Han Han for example. Not only is she beautiful, but she is also very attractive, the kind that becomes more comfortable the more you look at her. At this time, Leishan shook his head and cursed inwardly. What was he thinking? That female devil was only good looking, but the rest was nothing. Seeing that Darcy kept winking at him, asking him to go out and leave some time alone for the two of them, Leishan had no choice but to spread his hands helplessly and walked out of the ward. Because it was late at night, there were almost no people outside the corridor. Leishan opened his system panel and was about to collect his reward, but found that he had not completed his task at all. This is strange. Didn't they say that I could just bring a roommate to the hospital before today? Isn't this great joy coming to me? Why doesn't the task show as completed? Just as Leishan was puzzled, the sound of footsteps suddenly came from the corridor. Leishan raised his head and saw a man coming up from the corridor and walking quickly inside. The man was wearing a brown coat, a baseball cap on his head, sunglasses and a mask on his face. He was wrapped up tightly except for a pair of hospital cotton slippers on his feet. This incongruous outfit really made people feel strange. The man came up and looked around, as if he was confirming something. When he noticed Leishan, he walked up quickly and asked in a very low voice. Brother, is Yi Xiao Xiao on duty tonight? Hearing this rough and low voice, it is not difficult to judge that this is a man, and a middle-aged man over 40 years old. Leishan thought about the doctor who had just bandaged the fat man. It seemed that the doctor's name on his work badge was Yi Xiao Xiao, so he nodded. When the man heard this, he turned around and walked towards the duty room without saying a word. Just as he walked away, the wind outside the window blew up a corner of his coat, and Leishan seemed to see that he was wearing a hospital gown. And that hospital gown was a little different from ordinary hospital gowns. It seemed to be a psychiatric hospital gown. Oh my God! Thinking of this, Leishan suddenly jumped up from his chair. In other words, a mentally ill person was looking for Dr. Yi Xiao Xiao. And he even gave him directions. Leishan was very scared, because the thinking logic of a mentally ill person has always been incomprehensible to ordinary people. Who can guarantee that this mentally ill man will not do anything dangerous to Yi Xiao Xiao when he goes to find her? If someone's life is really in danger, I would be an accomplice. Thinking of this, Leishan did not dare to hesitate and hurried back to the clinic. When he opened the door, the sight in front of him made Leishan gasp subconsciously. I saw that the mentally ill man was indeed standing in the room, with his arm around Dr. Yi Xiao Xiao's waist, and dragged her to the corner. Yi Xiao Xiao was so frightened that her face turned pale and she tried frantically to break free, but how could a weak woman like her break free from the other person's big hands? The fat man next to him stood there with a pale face, not daring to take a step forward. Leishan was shocked. It was all over. He really became an accomplice this time. Just when Leishan was about to rescue Yi Xiao Xiao suddenly shouted towards Leishan. Don't move. He has a bomb. What? When Leishan heard that the other party had a bomb, his head buzzed. A closer look revealed that it was indeed the case. Under the brown coat, the psychopath had rows of homemade explosives made of detonators on his waist, and the lighter in his hand was pointed right at the fuse. Chapter 28, One Wave After Another. As long as the mentally ill brother's hand shakes slightly, the fuse will be triggered. By then, with the enormous power generated by these detonators, I'm afraid no one present will be able to escape. At this moment, Li Shan's heart was pounding. Unlike the last time, this time Li Shan's danger warning was frantically warning Li Shan. If I act rashly, it will inevitably lead to a tragedy. Li Shan was also dumbfounded. He saw the mentally ill brother hugging Yi Xiaoxiao, taking off his mask and sunglasses, and speaking excitedly. Dr. Yi, have you forgotten me? It's me, Dahan. Well. When Dr. Yi saw the man in front of him calling himself Dahan, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He spent a long time judging from his bearded face before confirming it. You are so stupid. How did you become like this? Dahan was the first patient Yi Xiaoxiao saw when she became a doctor. When Yi Xiaoxiao first came to the hospital, he was just an intern and had to work in various departments for a month before he could be hired as a full-time doctor. His first department was the psychiatry department. Dahan was the first patient under Yi Xiaoxiao's treatment. Because of Yi Xiaoxiao's natural gentleness and kindness, Dahan felt the warmth he had never had before. It's like seeing a ray of light in this cold world. Since then, Dahan would talk to Yi Xiaoxiao every day and reveal his true feelings. Yi Xiaoxiao also enjoys helping Dahan solve various problems. But the good times did not last long. After staying in the psychiatric department for a month, Yi Xiaoxiao left the department. From that day on, Dahan's mental condition deteriorated day by day. Dahan, who has serious mental problems, longs for Yi Xiaoxiao every day as if he were craving for medicine. So he tried every possible way to find Yi Xiaoxiao. Finally tonight, Dahan escaped from the psychiatric department and ran here. Seeing the originally honest and simple man in front of her turn into a skinny, unshaven man with dark circles under his eyes that are even bigger than his eye bags, Yi Xiaoxiao's eyes were filled with pity. But Dahan didn't care about these. Instead, he shook his head and said with tears in his eyes, Dr. Yi, I'm fine. I just miss you. Today I finally see you again. I don't want to be separated from you anymore. I love you. Let's elope. Yi Xiaoxiao originally felt sympathy for Dahan, but when she heard that Dahan wanted to elope by himself, she was shocked. Yi Xiaoxiao's feelings for Dahan were only those between a doctor and a patient, but they were not so profound. Hearing this, Yi Xiaoxiao quickly waved her hands and said, Dahan, calm down, I have a boyfriend, I can't elope with you. What? Dahan suddenly widened his eyes and stared at Yi Xiaoxiao in disbelief. Perhaps the fact that Yi Xiaoxiao has a boyfriend has caused unimaginable harm to Dahan. At this moment, Dahan seemed to have collapsed again, and the expression on his face became ferocious because of anger. Li Shan on the side was frightened, thinking in his heart, why do you want me to say such things to provoke him? He has a bomb on him. However, Dahan did not immediately choose to detonate the bomb or take any dangerous measures. Instead, he took a deep breath, his expression softened a little, and said, Dr. Yi, did you leave me because you had another man? I understand. If you love someone, you have to make her happy. A forced melon is not sweet. I am willing to make you happy for the rest of your life. As he spoke, Dahan actually slowly loosened his arms around Yi Xiaoxiao, but he also looked much more lonely. Li Shan, who was standing by, widened his eyes and thought to himself, oh my god. Is there really such a bloody plot? Just when everyone thought that the storm was about to disappear quietly, suddenly, a series of chaotic footsteps were heard in the corridor again. Before anyone could react, a group of police officers quickly arrived outside the ward and surrounded it. It turned out that when Dahan escaped from the psychiatric department just now, the psychiatrist immediately called the police, and the police arrived just in time. Seeing the police coming, Dahan's nerves jumped into gear again. Without saying a word, he hugged Yi Xiaoxiao to himself and once again put the lighter next to the fuse, as if he would detonate the explosives if the other party dared to act rashly again. A group of policemen originally planned to come in and take Dahan back to the psychiatric department, but when they saw the rows of detonators on his body, they were frightened and hurriedly stopped everyone at the door. Liu Dahan, calm down. We are here to take you back. We have no ill will towards you. Please don't do anything impulsive. Liu Dahan frowned and hid towards the corner step by step, staring at everyone in front of him, as if his nerves would collapse at any time. Yi Xiaoxiao was so scared that her face turned pale. This time she clearly felt that Dahan was having a seizure. This was definitely not his normal behavior. When a mental patient has an attack, no one can guarantee what he will do in the next second. At this moment, Li Shan's danger warning was even stronger than before, and he was panicking to death. At this time Liu Dahan spoke. All of you, get out of my way. I want a car worth 1 million. If you don't give it to me, I'll kill this woman right now. Oh, no, I can't drive. Give me a driver. Everyone. At this time, 2 policemen whispered something for a while, and then one of them shouted at Liu Dahan. Liu Dahan, calm down. We have brought your wife back. Think about it carefully. You still have parents and a family. You can't give up your life at such a young age. Magnolia. When Liu Dahan heard that his wife was coming, his expression fluctuated slightly, as if he was lost in memories. Then he immediately shouted. I don't believe it. You are definitely lying to me. Bring my wife up, I want to see her with my own eyes. After hearing what Dahan said, everyone thought to themselves that this matter might be resolved. So the policeman pointed his hand behind him, and several policemen immediately understood and went outside to call for help. All I heard was the sound of high heels hitting the ground in the corridor, and soon, a woman who looked to be in her 30s came to the door. When Liu Dahan saw this woman, the frown on his face instantly relaxed and he shouted excitedly with tears in his eyes. Yulan, is this really you? Yulan, you finally remembered me. I knew you haven't forgotten me yet. Seeing Liu Dahan's look, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. It is true that husband and wife are birds of the same forest. Even if no one can persuade him, his wife will definitely be able to persuade him. But what no one expected was that his wife came to the door, put her hands on her hips, pointed at Liu Dahan and started cursing. You damn bastard, you make me feel uneasy when you're not sick, and you make me suffer when you're sick. If you want to die, find a place where no one is around and die quickly, don't bother me. Chapter 29, The Divine Calculator is online. What? The woman's words shocked everyone present. The police were dumbfounded. They called you over to ask you to persuade Liu Dahan not to do anything impulsive, so why did you start cursing? When Liu Dahan saw his wife, his expression did show a little wavering, but when he heard his wife scolding him, his expression became ferocious again. Jin Yulan, you still have the nerve to say that. How did you curry favor with me when my company was still in operation? Now I'm bankrupt and was sent to the hospital by you and that bastard. What? Are you turning your back on me? Jin Yulan was not ashamed at all. Instead, she straightened her chest and spoke in a fiery and threatening manner. Hey, Liu Dahan, you really want to tear your face apart, right? Fine, then I'll tell you, when I married you, I already had an affair with brother Wang, and you've been cuckolded for a long time. I'm telling you, in a couple of days I'll hire a lawyer to sue you and divorce you. Following a psychopath like you is no match for brother Wang. What the woman said became more and more outrageous, and everyone became more and more panicked as they listened. Seeing that the incident was getting more and more serious, several policemen hurriedly took Jin Yulan away. Unfortunately, it was too late. At this moment, Liu Dahan's nerves had been broken into pieces. When he heard that his wife had cheated on him a long time ago, he was on the verge of collapse. Liu Dahan lowered his head and suddenly burst into wild laughter, which made people who were laughing terrified and felt goosebumps. Har har har, Dr. Yi, did you see that? People, this is what people are like. There is no good person in this world. Dr. Yi, you should stop living in this world. This world will only bring you harm. Why don't we go on the road together and become a pair of desperate mandarin ducks? After saying that, Liu Dahan moved the lighter towards the silver wire, and everyone present was terrified. Everyone was some distance away from Liu Dahan. If Liu Dahan detonated the detonator at this time, no one else present could stop him. At this critical moment, there was a sudden bang, and Liu Dahan's head was hit accurately by a fish tank. Liu Dahan cried out in pain, covering his head with his hands. The pieces of the fish tank fell all over his body, making him scream with his teeth bared. Seeing the opportunity, everyone immediately stepped forward and took Liu Dahan down. Seeing that things were not going well, Liu Dahan hurriedly used a lighter to light the eyeliner, but the lighter that had been soaked in water could not light a fire at all. Several policemen came forward, snatched Yi Xiaoxiao from Liu Dahan's hands in a few seconds, and subdued Liu Dahan and took him downstairs. The incident was finally resolved without any major incident and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. But how did this fish tank fall down? Everyone looked towards the fish tank and finally locked their sights on Li Shen, who was holding the door with one hand. Two policemen came up to Li Shen, shook his hands tightly and thanked him. Little brother, I have never seen anyone as calm as you. In such a dangerous situation just now, you were able to remain calm and take unexpected actions. It's amazing that you thought of this trick. The fat man at the side came over and exclaimed in amazement. Lishan, when did you become so awesome? You scared me just now, but you were able to stay calm and even think of hitting him with a fish tank. You are my god. Hearing everyone praising him unanimously, Lishan just smiled faintly. Because the truth is not what everyone thinks. Just as Liu Dahan was about to detonate the explosives, Lishan was so scared that his legs went limp and he almost fell to the ground. In panic, Lishan grabbed the door of the cabinet next to him. But I never expected that due to inertia, I would hit another cabinet. There is a fish tank on top of another cabinet, with 2 goldfish in it. These are the little pets that Yi Xiaoxiao brought with her when she came to the hospital. But today, after being reprimanded by the director, she was told to throw it away. But after all, it's my pet, how could I be so cruel as to throw it away? So Yi Xiaoxiao put the fish tank on the cabinet, planning to take it home with her after finishing her night shift. But she never expected that after being touched by Lishan, the scene just now would happen. It can be said that the smooth passage of this storm required the right time, right place and right people. Back in the dormitory, Lishan opened the task panel, and sure enough, the task was shown as completed. Lishan nodded secretly. Sure enough, the system task was the same as he thought. Every time a task was assigned, he had to complete a certain event by himself instead of executing an order. For example, this time, although he asked one of his roommates to go to the hospital, he actually had to deal with the Liu Dahan incident himself. It seems that I have to be more careful when carrying out missions next time. After figuring all this out, Lishan clicked, receive reward, without hesitation, and soon a new prompt sounded from the system. Mission reward, Destiny Divination System LV1 has been activated. System introduction, their host can make a rough divination about recent events based on what is happening nearby. As their host's level increases, the time range and things that can be divined can be extended. Note, there is a small chance of divination errors. Lishan's eyes widened when he saw the reward. Divination of destiny, isn't he this fortune telling? This system is quite interesting. If I could be as wise as the gods on TV and know everything about the future, wouldn't I be invincible? Just go to a lottery stall and buy a few tickets. With this divination, you will know whether you can become rich, right? Just when Lishan was excited, reality slapped him in the face mercilessly. This time the system was not as easy to use as Lishan had imagined. Lishan tried divination several times, but the results only showed good or bad luck, without clearly indicating what the consequences would be. This means that Lishan can only judge whether what is about to happen is a good thing or a bad thing. Lishan has no idea what kind of good thing or bad thing it is. Naturally, there is no way to calculate the winning lottery numbers. Lishan was lying on the bed, looking a little depressed and annoyed. It is no wonder that those old Taoist priests always say that the secret of heaven cannot be revealed after they have finished fortune-telling, because they cannot predict for sure what will happen in the end. However, Lishan guessed that it might be because his system level was too low. As the level increased, he might be able to calculate more accurately. However, this system introduction did not clearly tell me how to upgrade the level of this destiny divination system. Upgrading is still a big hassle. In the end, Lishan could only sigh helplessly. If he wanted it to work, he might just have to leave it to fate. The next day. In the principal's office. Principal Zhu, I have explained everything to you. I hope you won't let me down. At this moment, Shen Lian was sitting in the principal's office chair with a stern expression, while Principal Zhu was standing in front of the desk, behaving respectfully.